Press start.
All right, well, let's get things started with our first episode of 2023, which is actually the first of a three-part series where we are going to be debating the best from 2022. We won't argue about everything. Some of it's just your personal lists, but a good amount of it is going to be us trying to come up with a shared ranking, which we've done for several years in a row now. We really love it. There's other podcasts, of course, like the bigger name podcasts that do this, guys like Giant Bomb or MinMax, and there's a few others, but I think the way we do it is the best. So there you go.
Yep.
There's my. I think
You're not biased,
and that's
at all.
that's a
There's
fact
no
too.
bias.
It's not an opinion.
Not biased.
Yeah, it's just a fact.
We have polled all the journalists in gaming, and they all
and
agree.
they agree. They agree with us. They were like, "Who are you?" And I was like, "Thank you,
Yeah.
As the subject matter expert, yes, we're the best.
thank
So,
you. I appreciate
We are
it."
the best.
yeah.
Exactly.
So we're gonna get into that today. Just wanted to, real quick. There's hardly been any news. I've been checking, headlines to see, but it's been, holiday week, so there's been hardly any news at all.
Everybody's
just doing preview articles, like
Yeah.
like VGC, for example, or VCG, whichever way that is. They all their articles that they posted lately are just like, this game's coming in 2023, and it's like a preview article of a specific title.
That
And
they probably
I'm
wrote,
exhausted.
like
I'm
a
exhausted.
month ago. They probably wrote it a month ago. And
Oh
just
yeah, they
released
probably
it.
all had it. They probably all have it all timed to publish.
Yeah, everybody's on vacation.
Yeah, a few
Yeah,
examples
exactly.
are the Smash Brothers director Sakurai is saying he is semi-retired, so he's that. I don't think that means he's definitely never
He's been
making
saying
a
that.
game
He's
again.
been
But
saying this forever.
I was gonna ask you that, Kyle. Like, this feels like it's not the first time he has said this. So, but that's,
He's very Kojima-like, where this is my last Metal Gear Solid. This is the last time I'm doing, Super Smash Brothers, and it's like, okay, dude.
yeah, right.
Until they ask me again with a big paycheck. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
maybe
There's
after that.
always a number that you can write on a check that gets somebody out of false retirement or whatever. So
We saw
Well, I
that.
think also boredom too. Like, I don't think people, when they retire or whatever, they realize how boring doing nothing is. Like, it's
I think
cool at
creators
first.
in general, they never retire. Like true creators, like you may like quit your job or whatever, but like nobody just stays quiet. You know what I mean?
except
Especially
for
big
George
minds like
R.
this,
Martin,
so.
I'm pretty sure he has not been writing at all.
Yeah,
Game of Thrones
but but he's definitely not quiet either.
He's not
shows
quiet,
up
but
at every
I don't
goddamn
think
conference
he's-
that he can get his hands on.
He's like, I've had enough success. I'm good with leaving everyone hanging.
I'm creating
Probably-
my presence, and
Probably
that's
makes
what he's-
50,000 per conference or whatever he
yeah,
does.
he's got to
He
make a ton of
probably
money.
makes royalties
Um,
off of like Game of Thrones, and he's
Yep.
doing fine.
There's not currently a PC version of Gran Turismo 7 in development, which is kind of a bummer for some folks. Doesn't mean it's never going to come out, but it's just not currently in development. Let's see. Oh, Sports Story, which we'll talk about, was kind of stealth released during Nintendo's. They had like this week of indies where every day they did like a little indie deep dive or preview or whatever, and one of them they released Sports Story. So that's out. Dragon Age Jedi Fallen Order is coming to PlayStation Plus. That's what we call that game, right? Isn't that what it is?
Well played.
Yeah. For those of you who
It's
don't know,
literally the same game.
for those of you who don't know, in
Literally.
2019 when we talked about the best game,
No, we
Matt-
don't need to go over this again because I have
we
to
do.
explain it fully.
No, I need to give
If I
context.
explain
I
it
need to give
fully,
context.
anybody with a brain would get it.
Nope.
But you guys choose.
We
to
no.
be-
In 2019,
No, I don't get it. I don't get
There's
the
4
comparison.
grown adults who have no idea what you're talking
in,
about.
20,
so you're just
in
wrong.
2019, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order had come out, and for some reason there was a lot of comparisons to Dragon Age, which has become an ongoing inside joke
Only
with us here on
here,
the
though.
podcast.
Like
With us-
it's not
just with us on the
a, it's not a conversation that's happening anywhere outside
Anywhere
this podcast.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, since he wants to throw me and Dan under the bus, and Dan
I didn't throw anyone under the
apparently,
bus.
hold on, Dan
No.
apparently
You
can't
just
wake
owned up
on
to it because
time
y'all
for
have
our
guilty
podcast.
consciences. That's
Yeah.
We only were comparing the exploration part of it and what we wanted, not the actual games and saying, hey, Jedi Fallen Order should be Dragon Age. That's stupid. No.
So this was like me saying, "Hey, someone robbed the store last night. It's a bummer." And
No.
the robber's
No.
like, "Hey, why are you
No.
throwing me under the bus?" I'm like, I didn't say who it was or what was said. I just said there was
No.
a comparison. You did this
the
to
guilty
yourself.
conscience spoke up.
It sure did.
You know, he knows.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna roll the dice on this, and you're dead.
And get
Hey,
turned- and
Nitro,
then
can you
you-
take
yeah.
initiative? Can you
Just don't
take
get too
initiative,
turned on
please?
when you
Yeah.
do that, though.
I do get turned
And then
on.
the biggest headline that I thought was worth calling out was
My
that
pants are getting tighter as we talk.
Was
No,
that-
go ahead.
that's just a Florida thing, I think.
That's
Sifu,
that's an Act 1 erection joke right there.
Sifu is coming to Xbox and Steam alongside this new Arenas mode in March. So
Arenas
that's
mode.
I didn't
The
even
more people
realize.
complain, the better.
I didn't realize Sifu wasn't even on Xbox.
yeah, it was just on PlayStation
Yeah,
and
that was
Epic.
the big like feather in the cap Sony exclusive for the
It
year.
was on
Oh, yeah.
well it was on Switch too, so it's been on PS5.
It came
I think
later
that's
though, right?
probably
It didn't come
Yeah,
to
I-
Switch immediately, right?
Yeah.
It did not come immediately. Nope. But it was on
okay.
Epic Game Store, not Steam. So it's going to be hitting Steam and Xbox.
I really
Okay.
think it's smart. I know people have a problem with like exclusives on consoles. I don't. But like I think
You
it's
call 'em
smart.
people, I call them idiots. You know.
Yeah. I think it's smart. Just real quick, for like games like Sifu that do launch like this, because every time they launch a new platform, they get more publicity and they become even more relevant. So I think it's smart when games that are not as like AAA or big, if they slow leak out, whether you start out on Game Pass and then eventually go to PS5 or Switch or whatever, I think it's smart to release like that because you keep your game relevant for longer and you get your audience keeps getting
You
gradually
get a second
bigger.
life. You get a second or third life depending on how you stagger that release.
I
actually have no
guarantee
problem
there's
with,
a lot of Xbox
time
gamers who are
exclusives.
like, I would play Sifu if it came to our console. Now it's coming. Okay, I'll play it.
No, I do
They're
agree
in
with
for
you.
a treat. So
Yeah,
they're
I
in
think
for
it's a good
treat.
way to stay on that new release list for each different platform over time. It's a good move. All right. That's it as far as like headlines and stuff goes. That I could think of.
Let's get to the good stuff then.
Nothing too exciting there.
Let's get into the good stuff. Well, the first thing we're going to talk about as we review 2022 is going to be a personal list. So make sure you guys have your best console or platforms list ready to go here in a minute. But just for those of you who are listening or watching, here's the rules that we typically stick to with these lists. Although we are in charge of this as a group. So when Dan's here, there'll be 5 of us. But right now, the 4 of us, we decide like, all right, we'll collectively decide if something's eligible or not. Like for an indie, for example, like that's a very nebulous description. We can kind of decide together, all right, let's count that as an indie. That's just a rule we get to make. But for the most part, the game should be released in 2022. There might be a few exceptions if there was a game that maybe was an early access or that nobody talked about the previous year, but now is hitting in a way that's like, all right, we never considered this one. Let's consider it for this year. That's not very common, but it happens every once in a while. So that's kind of the rule. It must be released in 2022. And then, so what we want to do is make sure that we all agree on the list of eligible games. And then we go through a couple of rounds where we just each name games we want to have considered. We don't really have to say much about them in the moment. It's just like, I want to name a game that I want to bring over to make sure it's considered. Narrow it down to a top 10, in some cases a top 5, just depends on the category. And then we'll rank those together. If for some reason we're in a stalemate and we can't come to an agreement, we don't all agree on the order of things, then we do a couple of different things. One is we'll each rank them and kind of give them a point total on our own. So like, all right, I want to give 5 points to this, 4 points to this, 3 to this. Or we could also, if there's truly a tiebreaker, Metacritic average from the 2022 version of whatever game. We'll break that tie. So,
Okay.
That makes sense to everybody?
No.
Yep.
Okay, Jeff, let's go over it again.
You're the guy who hit
15
A
minutes.
on the owl and Ocarina
Please.
of Time. Like, shit, I have to hear all this again.
All right, and I'm not going to be able to see you guys for the most part. You'll be like in the corner of my screen while I'm doing this, but Kyle,
Good.
your video did freeze up on me. I don't know if it is on everybody else's.
No,
Yeah,
I
there's some lag on my end, but
there's
it's okay.
lag
I
on
can,
his.
Yeah, but I can hear and see. Like, it's fine if I don't
Well, we'll be
see him
doing
100%. But
mostly
yeah.
a screen share of this sheet anyway.
He
So
is
it's fine.
completely frozen now, but before it was just
Oh,
like a
man.
subtle lag.
good job, Kyle.
I don't know how to fix that. I don't know what are you supposed to do with that?
I don't
It's
know.
coming and going. I
Move.
think you'll be fine.
We can hear you just fine.
Move.
I think you're fine.
Okay.
That's how you fix it. Reboot it. Move.
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 All right, guys, our first.
That's my favorite SNL character. Oh man.
Oh, is that Jimmy
It's
Fallon,
too
the IT
real.
guy?
It's too
The IT
real. I want to do that every single day. Every single. Move.
Reboot.
Yeah.
Just reboot it.
Oh,
Did you
I know
get
the
it?
sketch you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
The IT guy. Yeah.
Yeah, where they're explaining how they troubleshot the issue, and he's like, move.
Yeah,
love
one
that.
of those rare good Jimmy Fallon sketches.
I know.
It's good stuff.
All right. So our first list is really just some personal picks just to kind of get our gears moving. We are recording on a Saturday morning, so we have to kind of wake up, unless you're Kyle and you've just worked a night shift and you're wide awake, too awake maybe.
Jacked up on caffeine, guys. I don't
Yeah,
know what to
maybe
do with
too
myself.
awake. But this will get our gears moving a little bit as we think back on the year. Best console or platform, and the reason I say platform is because maybe you're really loving what Epic Games Store did, and that's just your favorite. And you don't want to just say PC. Maybe you love Epic Games Store or whatever. So, so that's what we're doing for this one. But it's just personal picks. So
Okay.
I'm just gonna start on my screen on the top right. I've got Jeff. So Jeff, why don't you give us? And if you've only got 3, that's fine. Somewhere in the 3 to 5 range. Your top consoles or platforms this year.
Yeah, I only have 3 really to speak of, but I ranked them to keep it interesting for myself, really. And so my number 3 would be PS5. It's the console I game on the most. Console. If you count PC as a console, it's not really a console, but you know what I mean. It's
I do.
Yes.
It's a platform.
The reason that it was number 3 though is because I still have the issue where it disconnects from my 5G Wi-Fi, and it's so stupid. So many people have this problem, and they've talked about it ad nauseum on like Reddit and stuff, and they just refuse to fix it every update. Anyway,
You're saying that this is your PS5 that does that?
yeah. Sometimes I'll boot it up and it'll be like, oh, I can't get to your Wi-Fi, so I have to connect to the slower Wi-Fi to get it to work.
Like the 2.4 or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is, the old 2G Wi-Fi.
At that point, what's the point of this? Like, just throw it out.
Well, I got to give them props, obviously, because they're exclusives, which we'll obviously talk about a crap ton over the next couple episodes. Or maybe not. Maybe they're a terrible console, and I'm just talking out my ass. But
corporate.
So my number 2 would be Steam Deck, because what an impressive debut for a handheld. And it works. I don't want to say flawlessly, but as good as it can, considering everything it's doing. I just love the idea of the cloud sync and like being able to game it on PC and then like switch over my progress over to a handheld, and it's no big deal at all sometimes. So like I think that's really cool. And then my number 1 would be PC, because I swapped out my game card and I've been gaming on it ever since. Now it's hard for me to get to PS5 again. Because I just enjoy my machinery now, finally.
Yeah,
that is totally not what she said, because we're retiring that. But,
new year, new jokes. Yeah,
no. Next year we'll still be talking about Dragon Age, and we'll definitely be talking about Star Wars and Dragon Age next year.
Yeah, because in March with the new Star Wars.
God help us all.
I think the new Dragon Age is coming out next year too.
It's 1,000% not coming out next year. I'll tell you.
It's coming.
The delays has spoken. Speaking of which, Kyle, why don't you tell us what have been your favorite consoles platforms this year?
I guess just in order, it would be trying to get the numbers in my head. Xbox at number 4, and then Switch at number 3, PlayStation 5 at number 2, and the Steam Deck at number 1. I'm blowing all through those because we've had those other consoles for years now or whatever. The Steam Deck, super special. We would like to focus on that. Everything's not working perfectly yet, like Jeff was saying, but like the fact that it works so well on a first stab at something like this, from Steam. I know they've done like Steam boxes, Steam this, Steam that. No, they've never done this like weird Linux almost emulator style, like console, which it is now. You're taking the PC and turning it into a console or a platform. And it feels good. I like the UI a lot. Everything's just super easy when the cloud save works, which most times for me it does. It's super easy to go from your PC to Steam Deck without any problems. I know, Tim, you were having problems with like Midnight Sun lately.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully an update will fix that. But like, there's still some kinks to work out for sure. My Steam Deck does not like it when I restart it or turn it off. Like, it has a lot of issues, like figuring out like how to turn back on. So that's a problem too. But like, even with all of its flaws, like just being able to play like Red Dead Redemption 2 like on that thing without any issues or tinkering or anything like that, even though it's not supported, if you want to go down that road. It's amazing. It's out of this world to see games like that running so well. And then games that are verified, like Devil May Cry 5, that runs super fast, that looks super good, and it's running on this little, not little, it's pretty heavy and big, but like this handheld, it's impressive. It's kind of you guys were talking about playing Spider-Man on it, and how blown away you guys were. Like, I have all those feels. I just know what that feels like, and me growing up such a huge handheld gamer, to have something like this handheld on the go to play in bed, or to play something while I'm rewatching something or binging something, it's out of this world. And it's definitely my favorite piece of tech this year.
I forgot to mention another reason that I love it so much is that it's hard to get a handheld to feel good in your hands as you're playing it. Like, I think the Switch has that problem. It's just too flat. And it just feels weird with the joysticks. But this one, they curved it, and like, I don't know, it just fits amazingly as a handheld. Like, it feels good.
It's form fitting.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. So Kyle, I just sent you a message in case you didn't see. I think maybe because you're just a little distorted, and I don't want to miss what you're saying throughout these conversations. You might want to just leave and come back on the Skype call real quick, just to see if your connection resets.
Reboot your computer.
I'll reboot.
Seriously.
I'll come right back.
Then, yeah, we'll just keep talking about consoles while you're gone. All right. My list is very similar to Kyle's, actually. So number 4, you guys are talking about the Switch, so I just wanted to show you, and I think I've shown you guys this before. I use this the Satisfy grip.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And so that actually gives it depth. It actually feels like a controller when you hold on to it. See how it's like
definitely
thicker. So I really like this, and it comes with a nice case too. But so then when you're playing it, it actually really rests comfortably in your hand. So I really like the grip.
That's perfect. That's actually my biggest and main gripe about the Switch in handheld mode.
Yep. All my kids have those. Each of the one of those with a case. They love them. So it kind of turns it into a controller feel. Kind of feels a little bit like the Steam Deck, honestly, just because it has that extra space for your hand to hold. So that's my number 4. Switch has been a really fun system this year. A little bit like the PS5 in that it's not until a Switch exclusive comes out that it pulls me that direction. So spent a lot of time playing Mario plus Rabbids and Bayonetta 3. Earlier in the year, played some Kirby. And I feel like there was something else on the Switch earlier this year I played. But maybe some Triangle Strategy. I played the demo for that. There was a few little games on the Switch this year that caught my attention. So that was a really fun platform, but it's certainly fallen down the list over the years. I mean, that console is close to 6 years old, so it's not like it's doing.
I know. Yeah. It's crazy.
So I really have enjoyed my Nintendo Switch this year, but other platforms have taken the spot in front of it, like my PS5, where I, at least at the beginning of the year, was playing it more regularly than I am now.
Yeah, same here.
But had a couple of exclusives that kept me on the couch for a long time. Horizon Forbidden West and God of War Ragnarok, of course, were the 2 big ones. But even stuff like Stray, I played Stray on the PS5.
Sifu was a great time on PS5,
Played, I feel like I played some third parties. I played a good amount of Elden Ring on there as well. So the PS5 did get a good amount of my play time. So that was my number 3. But number 2 and 1, it might be kind of a cheat to do this, but like number 2 is kind of my PC, but specifically Steam. I just think that platform just deserves a lot of credit. They do some incredible stuff on that platform, everything from their sales to the way that you can send and gift games and gift cards to each other and see friends' activities. And their achievement system is actually quite good. The cards you can unlock, like they've just created a really cool environment for gaming. It's been there for years. This isn't new, but when you really get into it and just start gaming there regularly, you start to see like, this is almost like its own console. It just happens to be an app on your PC. And I think Steam is just an awesome platform. So that's my second. But number 1's got to be the Steam Deck. And Kyle said it better than I could. That is, it just did some things I didn't expect. Spider-Man is a great example of. I played this game in handheld mode for a couple hours overall, and I was just like, this is crazy that this game works and looks this great. So Steam Deck has been a super fun handheld console to use. I've really enjoyed it. And so I'm picking up use of it more and more because I really do love playing on my PC, sitting down and using a controller or mouse and keyboard.
Same.
But when I do play handheld, my Switch, for the most part, is still sitting off to the side, and it's the Steam Deck that I'm using to play. So those are my top 4 use. And then Derek, what about you? What favorite consoles or platforms this year?
So I'll do it based off what I own and then like what's my least favorite. So the one I use the least, well, I use it the most, but I use it the least for gaming is Xbox Series X. I only use it for watching Netflix and stuff like that. After that, I would say Steam Deck. Now, Steam Deck is to me the most impressive tech to release this year, so it's the most exciting. But as far as me using it, it's probably falls into that four spot for this past year. Switch is actually the one that surprised me the most. So I've owned the Switch since launch, and I rarely used it. Like if you go check my history, you'll see like there was only 2 games I'd beat in 5 years, and that was Zelda and Mario Odyssey. I don't think I beat anything else or cared about that console really at all.
Those are 2 of the best ones, so that's pretty good.
Yeah. And then this year,
okay.
I played a lot of Knights of the Old Republic. I'll eventually finish that playthrough there.
Nice.
I beat Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which took me like 70 or 80 hours, whatever it was. So I've been buying a lot more games on it and been actually enjoying it a lot more because of like I love to watch sports, so it's easy to watch sports and play there. So I do think the Steam Deck will get more use, but right now I would put the Switch rated above it. And then it's PS5. I mean, even just looking at my top 10, really top 5, it has 2 exclusives on there that I put a large chunk of hours in. Plus, I know I'll replay both of them.
Yep.
So, and of the 2 big consoles, it's to me my favorite. And I've always been an Xbox guy, but it's not just an exclusive thing. I like the controller better. I like the interface better.
I meant to mention that. Yeah.
I like the PS5 better, and that's why I actually went out and bought a second one just so I could have both set up on both my TVs, and whenever I want to play, I play them. So
and
if
they have that cloud save.
I meant to mention that about the PS5. One of the reasons I like it so much is the controller. It's and Daniel has joined.
Down this guy. Thumbs down this guy. He freaking comes in here.
Yeah, you sleepy weirdo.
I can't.
Ed.
It's Vivi.
Yeah.
Vivi is here.
Vivi has arrived. Is
that how we're pronouncing his name? Vivi?
Yeah,
is it not Vivi?
It's not Vivi?
Oh.
Listen, this is the same shit as Titus and Titus. Anyone that says Titus can fuck off.
It's Titus because he's water elemental.
No, but it actually is officially Titus, but they can fuck off.
It is, but that's because they don't have the hard eyes in Japan. That's the only reason why it's Titus.
I got a hard eye for you.
Oh, all right. We're coming in hot. with Daniel.
So happy. I'm so happy.
Fiery.
And I mean that. That's not facetious.
It's gonna be great.
All right. Well, I apologize.
Extremely.
We're gonna start calling you Daniel Friday.
We decided Game of the Year without. We decided Game of the Year without you. So that's just
okay. That's
already done. No, we just talked about our favorite consoles or platforms. That's really all we've talked about so far. What have been your favorites, Dan, as far as like where to play?
Well, let me just finish mine real quick.
I thought you were done.
So PS5 was 2, and then 1 is obviously PC. So I was looking at my top 10, and I live on my PC. And next year I plan on getting hopefully an RTX 4090 PC. So I will live on PC.
By the way, the reason I didn't mention Xbox is because I still don't own an Xbox Series S or X. We just don't own one because the PC has taken care of all my
need it. Yeah,
it's taken care of all my Game Pass.
Literally
games.
nothing has come out that makes it necessary to own one.
Exactly.
And I don't mean like as a fanboy thing.
Well, we have 2 Xbox.
Literally a fact.
Tim's on the PC anyway, so I mean,
we have
the Xbox One there.
We have an Xbox One S, which my son uses, and his siblings sometimes play that. And we have an Xbox One X on our main TV in the house, which you can tell I never use for gaming because I got my Xbox Year in Review, and it's all games that I've played maybe 2 minutes of total. Like I think Ark and Fortnite, and there's all these games that my kids play on the Xbox all the time that I'm like, that's because they use my username on there all the time.
Y'all ready for Ark 2? Huh?
Ark 2, baby.
Y'all ready?
Vin Diesel, guys.
And in my opinion, the Xbox One X is still better than the One S or the Series S.
Series S.
I mean, it's not better than the Series X, but it's better than the Series.
It's still a good. Honestly, it's still a good console. Like it runs well. It has a ton of great games. Game Pass works.
Every game at 1440p and above. It's a good console for last
console. My over the break, my son's been playing some Forza Horizon 4. He actually downloaded on there, and I was like, this game still looks great and plays like, and on the series on the One X, and I was like, dude, this is a gorgeous game. Still looks great.
Sure.
Dan, what are some of your favorite consoles platforms this year?
It would definitely be the PS5. That's what I play on the most. I would say probably, but the second thing I played on the most was the Switch. But I'll say PC just because I finally have a new fancy PC, and even though I haven't played too much on it, just being able to experience all these things that I just couldn't before because I never had something like this. I mean, even just the other day, I finally started Neon White. I've only played like maybe an hour, but like I'm playing that thing at 120 frames per second and just whizzing around, just being a badass.
Oh, that's why your scores are so good. Okay.
Yes,
cool.
it's the
I
frames.
got you, I got you.
It's the extra frames.
He's a cheater.
Those
If
extra
we got
frames
it.
make
He's a
faster.
cheater.
Yeah.
If it's not a minimum,
That's
120, I don't care. So
Yeah. Hey Dan, what's
Sure.
the
Nor should you. Why
what's the
would you
card?
settle?
What card do you use on your PC?
it's the 3070.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got the 3070. So
Yeah, I think that's the one I'm
um,
thinking about upgrading to this year because I'm still on like the 2080.
Is it 3060?
Do the
That's the lower
3080
end?
minimum.
Okay. All right.
well,
3080.
Jason?
apparently I'm behind the times. Then I got 3070s.
What'd you say,
No,
Jeff?
no, 3070 is good. I'm just saying if he's gonna upgrade,
If you're gonna
let's-
buy, yeah.
if
Sure,
he's gonna
buy.
do
sure.
half off or something, you got to remember the 40 series just came out. Do 3080. That's the best card, best budget card. Like
Well,
price.
okay, and just to be clear, the one I have now, I think it's the 2080 Ti
No, you had the
or whatever.
2070. I thought you had the 2070.
Might be 2070 Ti, whatever it is. It's a good version of that card, and it still is kicking and doing really, really well. It's just I'd like to get a better monitor, which means I need a better card to really be able to support that. So
Yeah, definitely.
I'm looking at that
Yes.
later this year. Yeah. And then Dan, you said to Switch though too. There's something else you played.
Yeah, I
with?
mean, like, so we actually just finished up Pokemon. My wife and I finished up Pokemon Violet, and yeah, I mean, obviously everyone, the frame rate issues and this and that, but like, I had a ton of fun with that game. I'm not gonna lie, like, it was super fun.
Even when it was running at 9 frames per second, I was like, "This is great. This is wonderful."
I
this
only
is-
play,
this is what
I only
I've
play
wanted.
games at 120 frames per second. And
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
playing on a
Yeah.
Nintendo.
Except on the
Pokemon
Switch.
runs at 9 frames.
Then
Except
it's
on the
totally
Switch.
fine. It's
Except on
objectively
the
okay.
Switch.
Imagine the scores and the love that game would have had if they had gotten the technical and visual aspects.
It'd be 9s.
Right.
Like you'd see 9s for sure.
It would have
But-
been It would have been a game of the year
There's
award.
so
contender.
many apologists out there who are like, I still had fun. Like me and Dan are doing right now. It's like, oh, that game runs like garbage.
Well,
but boy, it was a lot
I've
of fun,
heard
you know?
tons of praise for the actual core game. It's the technical and some of the visual elements that just weren't there. But
I think the only thing I didn't like about the game itself is the way they did the team star stuff. I thought that was kind of like, I don't know, undercooked a little bit. And then
I felt like all 3 stories were a little undercooked because they're like, we're doing 3 different things and they're all disconnected and they're all kind of short. And it's like, okay.
or with the gyms, right? You have to do some like dumb challenge thing before that. It's like no.
They
dumb.
started
This is
that in
dumb.
Sword and Shield, so that's become I didn't remember. Yeah.
Okay.
You do like little challenge, not like this. They
Okay.
kind of had their own flavor of it, but yeah.
Okay.
all right, guys, it is
yeah.
time to start arguing. We are gonna.
All right,
I'm gonna bring
fuck
up
you
a
guys.
list.
I hate you.
I'm gonna bring up a list here.
You are
I'm
coming
gonna-
in
I'm
extremely
gonna go
aggressive,
off
and
camera and like slap myself a little bit.
as somebody who's very like that makes me nervous. Please stop.
I'm
He
gonna
got
grab
his
this
beauty, he
sword
got his
right
beauty
here.
sleep, guys, so he's ready.
I got my full 7 hours of sleep.
Yeah, Dan is ready to rock. I like it. All right, I'm gonna share.
I'm gonna grab this sword right here, and start swinging.
Okay.
Okay.
I feel
All right.
so threatened. Oh my god.
As you should. As you should.
That's
guys, so-
Cloud Sword. How dare you?
Generally, the rule is, of course, it needs to have come out in this year. If we're considering it for this year as an early access game, that for the most part means it can't be talked about in 2023 if a 1.0 version comes out because we're considering it for this year. So that's kind of the rule. And then if there's something that's missing, just let me know and I'll type it in. I'll add it in here. I organized these by Metacritic score. So if you're watching on YouTube, you
that.
can see
I
my
like that.
screen. If you're just listening, what we've got a shared spreadsheet here that has all of the indie / non-AAA games that I'd whittle this list down to, but you guys are free to tell me this one shouldn't count or that one is missing or whatever. So we can adjust the list. But the idea here is to come up with a shared top 10 best indie or non-AAA game. So there's some that are really on that weird in between. Like a good example is that Evil West game that came out. It's not quite AAA, but it wasn't really an indie game. We as a group can decide maybe this is the list where it should be considered, since it probably won't get considered on most other lists. So
well, can we just I don't know. Can we just bring that up now? Because I personally removed Pentiment and Evil West from my list because I do not consider those developers to be indie.
Yeah, so this is where Pentiment, kind of like what's that Ubisoft World War One Valiant Hearts games like that are like
Yeah.
those are small games. So we used to call this like best indie or small game, and so I don't know. I could go
Well,
either way.
And they even identified as in like, we're making indie games. I'm like, that's
Correct.
okay. So, it's a really nebulous subject. I don't know if
It is.
either of those games are really going to make it in this category, so I don't know really if it matters, but maybe Pentiment is loved. I don't know if it's going to get high anywhere else. Maybe it comes over now on
I
indie.
mean, in my opinion,
It is a
since
small
we do
game.
most of our categories based off like AAA experience, I'm saying most, not all.
Yeah.
I don't think we have to say indie. I think we should just get rid of that and just say smaller titles. And then you can include a Pentiment that would probably, for most gamers, not succeed in a big AAA list, but maybe it would win in a smaller games.
I'm
list.
all aboard just calling it best non-AAA game category.
Yeah, okay. So
it doesn't have to be indie, is what I'm saying.
That definition then, and I'll add those back to my list.
We can do that. We can call it small or non-AAA game. I like the word small. To me, that just helps describe what we're talking about.
Guys, we got to be inclusive. That's all I'm trying to say. We have to be better.
Like small.
Color me surprised.
So wait, are we talking about the game physically being small? Like, is the disc smaller than like?
Yeah, they all have to be cartridge size. Yeah.
Yes, it has to be.
They all have to fit on a GameCube mini disc. That's.
Can we fire this guy?
And you know what's funny is like some of these are like absolutely massive experiences. They're just smaller scope, or maybe maybe the visuals kind of lend itself to be a smaller game, but smaller budget. Right. So there's a lot of different ways you could factor in like what makes it a small game. But
that's fair.
But this is probably, of all the categories, this one's the toughest to really define. The rest of them are pretty obvious and easy to define. This one's the most nebulous one. So, all right. So we're just going to go around the circle and just start naming games you want to bring over to this consideration category. So if you're just listening, we have a list of eligible games on our left column. We're going to move things over into the consideration column that someone in this group of 5 of us wants to at least have a chance to say something about before we whittle it down to a top 10. So we're just going to work our way down the list. I'm going to start with the one at the top here with Chained Echoes. Bring that one over.
I can't believe it's that high rated. That's kind of crazy.
Well, it's because I backed it, so you're welcome.
Dan is the reason this game was made.
Yes, but just ask him if he's played it, and the answer is probably no.
It took me a long time to beat God of War Ragamuffin.
Yeah.
All right, Derek, what would you bring over?
I don't even know if I can say it right, but Asteragos?
Yep. I think it's right here. There it is. Yep. Okay. Jeff, what about you?
Can you scroll up? I think I saw it up there. Let's just move over Vampire Survivors.
Yeah, man.
It's a definition of indie right there. Small game.
Kyle, what would you move over?
Gaston, this is for you. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Bring it over.
Dude, I love Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, baby.
Love Ninja Turtles.
Daniel.
Sifu.
Sifu. There it is. All right. I'll go back up here and I'll bring over Neon White.
Mm-hmm.
Derek.
Tunic.
Jeffrey.
Tundra. Pentiment.
Kyle.
Scroll down. Vampire Rising, V-Rising. No, Arcade Paradise. I'm sorry. Bring that over.
There we go. Yeah.
New Darling. The New Darling.
Daniel?
Beacon Pines.
That one got great reviews, including from yourself. People love that game. I will bring over Cult of the Lamb. This is my Christmas break game I've been playing, thanks to Jeff being like, dude, this is a Tim game. You got to play it.
Yes, it is. It's very much.
Sometimes when someone says that to me at the right moment, I'm like, that's a Tim game? I should play it then. And then I'm totally digging it. I love Cult of the Lamb. Derek.
Is it Proteus?
Proteus.
There it is, Proteus. Yeah, what a cool little Doom love letter. Game. Yeah.
I'm really disappointed that nobody's brought over the game of the year, Stray, but okay.
Card Shark.
Where was that? I saw it. There it is. Kyle.
Scroll back up again. I know what I'm looking for is up there. Rogue Legacy.
Rogue Legacy 2, which is a lot of people would be like, well, that was 2021. Well, early access, I think for some folks they played it in 2021, but
Yeah.
we didn't talk about it last year. So, Daniel.
Stray.
Kitty cats. All right, I'll bring over V Rising. It's still in early access, but it's enough of a full game to at least get mentioned as a good one from 2022. Derek, anything else for you?
Scroll down.
And by the way, you guys should have access to this if you want to look at it on your own.
Weird West. I liked Weird West.
I did too. That's a good game.
That was one of those cool little like Game Pass games that I didn't expect to enjoy, and I only played it for a few hours, but I thought it was really good. All right, Jeff.
Tinykin.
Tinykin, there it is.
For a tiny category.
Kyle.
Look at that! Look at that rating.
Symphony of War.
Yes. Did you play that one?
Yeah.
So fun. It was like
I'm gonna circle back to it. I only got like an hour in.
dude, it was
yeah,
like
I really
Ogre
liked it.
Battle and Fire Emblem had a baby and made this game. It's so good.
Yeah.
Um,
A lot of Fire Emblem games.
Is
to
that
be
one on
honest.
sale on Steam? Because that was one of.
I'm pretty sure it is.
It might be, but like
Pretty
you
sure
make
it is, yeah.
units like, and we'll talk about it a little bit, but you make units like Ogre Battle where you have actually like front and back row and you like organize them and you have a certain number of blocks to use up. So instead of it being an individual unit like Fire Emblem, you have a unit of like 5 or 6 characters in each little figure that you're moving around. It's very well done.
It's cool. $14 right now.
Yeah, that's a good one. Who just went? Was that Kyle? Dan.
Can you scroll back up?
Yeah.
All right, and then back down.
It's Steam Deck verified.
Oh, there you go.
It is. Yeah, it is.
Played anything else near
I played a good amount of that on the Steam Deck. That's where I've played it
I was
most.
Same.
Signalis.
Most of it.
I played the demo of Signalis. I mean, I really enjoyed what I played in the
I
demo.
really want to play this game, Signalis. Yeah, I really wanted to check
This
this
feels
one
like a
out.
Kyle game because it's got like some Silent Hill
Isn't
and old
this-
school Resident Evil vibes to it.
It is an old school like horror game, but like with
Isn't it
some
like-
cyberpunk aesthetic.
If you told me this was a
Humble Bundle
Capcom
did
game
this
from the
game?
PS1, I'd believe you. What'd you say, Derek?
Didn't Humble Bundle like develop that game or
They
something?
did.
Or-
Yeah. No, they. Yeah, he's right.
Oh.
Nice. I'm gonna bring over Entropy Center. That game was surprisingly fun, little Portal-like experience there. Derek, anything else from this list that you want us to consider? What about As Dusk Falls? I mean, that one
Oh
over.
yeah, I didn't even know that was there. Yes, absolutely.
Jeff, anything jump out to you?
Yes. Midnight Fight Express.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, how did I forget that?
Oh, there it is.
Guys, how have we not brought over Thymesia? Like that's literally
You're the
top
only
three.
one who's played it. That's how. I think.
Literally top 3 though.
Yeah, totally. Kyle.
Roller Dome. I should have brought that.
Roller Dome. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Roller Dome for sure. What a great
So good.
experience.
So much fun.
Dan, anything else from the list for you?
I
You can
think
name a couple if you want.
Anno Mutationum. Completely forgot about that one. I think
So good. That's another one I
Where
want to
is
circle
that
back
one?
to.
Dan, you don't want Metal Hellsinger?
There it is.
There it is.
Oh, is that on here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well then, yes, absolutely.
Metal Hellsinger.
I go ahead and bring Thymesia over for me. I mean, I did like it, but nobody else is going to do anything with
That's
it.
the problem with doing this according to Metacritic is it's not alphabetical, which throws me off a little bit. I'm just going to bring over Trek to Yomi because the visuals alone are worth being like, hey, remember how good this game looks? And then we can not
But
put
you
it on
know,
the top 10.
I feel like this developer did a better game, and that's Evil West. So
Evil
is
West.
Evil West in here?
I don't know if I
Oh,
put it on here or not.
Same dev.
Hater.
Is it
Yeah,
the same
it is.
dev?
It is. Yeah.
Really?
It's a Shadow Warrior, guys.
No, I don't have it on here, but we can add it. Want to add Evil West?
I don't think it's a AAA experience in my opinion. So
Yeah, but weirdly, it's not a small game. You know, it's like it's a AA game, which like
It's a AA.
yeah, it's not AAA,
But
which
it's
is kinda-
non-AAA, so just
Yeah,
throw
but
it
it's
on
not
You know
AAA,
what?
so you should throw it
it
on
might-
here.
It might be too big, but yes, it is a.
So-
Yeah, Trek to Yomi. They did do that one too. But yeah, I don't think it'll make our 10. I don't have any like solutions
add
about
it.
that, nothing. But
Add Evil West on here.
It's
Oh my God.
definitely not AAA.
It's not you. That's 100%.
Yeah.
AAA.
But I think by as we narrow down our list, we'll probably focus on the ones that did more with less resources, basically.
Yeah.
All right, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna hide this and just
Nobody
organize
cares
this.
about Solstice.
I was actually going to mention that one. Yeah, that one's hella fun. That's a really fun game.
That's another one that I could probably get on Steam on sale.
I'd be surprised if you couldn't because it didn't do well at launch. So.
All right, I'm just making this alphabetical now, so we can see what's missing. Curse to Golf was fun, but I actually fell off it pretty quick. I thought the difficulty spike was pretty extreme.
Yeah, I'm with you on
What
that.
game?
Creative game though, creative.
Oh, Aiden Chronicle Rising, I'll bring over. I like that one a lot. Oh, there's Evil. Oh, we already brought Evil West over. Did we bring it over? Yeah, we did. Okay.
Yeah, you did. Serial Cleaners is another one I have. I thoroughly enjoyed that one.
Oh, I don't have it on here.
In the little time I played on it, but yeah, that one's definitely more indie than Evil West. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I played a little bit of that one.
And then I want to give Not for Broadcast a shout out. Those are the only ones that's the last one I had.
Yeah.
That's a cool game. Yeah.
All right, there's a few notable ones that we haven't brought over that just wanted to call out and see if anyone wants to fight for it on the list. Otherwise, it's okay to just give it a mention. I already mentioned Curse to Golf. Far Changing Tides, I liked the first one, the Lone Sail. This one's very much the same, very kind of ethereal and ambient music as you're traveling through this landscape, but it wasn't enough for me to push for it to be on the list. It's not, I don't know, it just wasn't all that great of a game. I thought the first one was really interesting. The second one just feels like an expansion, honestly. Frozenheim was a really cool city building, kind of Viking themed city builder, but I think it's not super well balanced. And it might still be an early access to give them, cut them some slack, but it's not super well balanced. And so either it's way too easy and enemies put up no fight, or I found a couple missions where it was like, whoa, how do they expect you to be able to handle this? So it's just not well balanced yet, even though it is a cool concept. I actually bought Hard West 2, which is a surprise release over the summer or like early in the fall, I think. And but I still haven't played it, but that's kind of like XCOM, but an old Western setting.
I have the first one.
People love Hard Space Shipbreaker. They really do. It's just one that, and I'd be the one probably most likely to play it, where you're actually out in space, basically salvaging all this these old ships and stuff, and you're basically a job. It's a space salvage simulator essentially, and people love this game, but I just didn't play it enough. I thought it was a little blah. That was just me, but some people love it. They really love it, and it got really good reviews. Let's see, anything else to call out here?
Immortality might have been one of the highest reviewed of the bunch, I would imagine. So I guess it's worth a shout out for that, but I don't think it resonated with Tim and I when we tried it.
We hate art here, so
yeah, we hate art.
We do hate art.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe if it was a male character instead of female, I would have played it.
Yep,
that's what it is. That's what it is.
The whole reason why I didn't play it.
So bold. Yeah.
Moonscars is awesome.
Like worth putting over?
It's not gonna make the 10 or nothing, but it's great.
Really cool pixel art style.
Yeah.
I do like its visuals, yeah.
I did think that Nobody Saves the World was actually a surprisingly fun little action adventure / RPG experience. It wasn't enough for me personally to stick with it, but I could totally see how someone could get hooked on that game. All the different abilities and forms you can, take over. But I don't know that any of us really got into it. I think we liked it, but moved on from it. I think. So
you're not gonna put Ollie World over? Is that because you're the only one that would probably fight for it, or?
I'm the only one to fight for it, and I honestly haven't played it probably since the month it came out.
Oh,
I never circled back to it. So
I got you. But yeah, highly acclaimed indie. Whatever. Yep. We hate indies here, so
really good skateboarding game. Power Wash Simulator. I really like that game. I don't know what to tell you, man. It is so satisfying to literally have the power washing, just go back and forth and watch the dirt come off of the walls and stuff like that. Is it's satisfying, man.
Like you are.
It actually is.
You're OCD. Right, that's fine. It's okay.
It is so satisfying.
It actually is.
But as a video game, is this one of the best? No. It's just
Can
It's
we,
just
can we power wash Derek and his attitude?
Says the guy who showed up with attitude this
Hey,
morning.
But sarcastic as.
Showed up late with attitude.
Retro
like-
Bowl is actually one of my favorites and might be one of my most played of these
Yeah?
games this
Oh,
year.
Interesting.
But
didn't
I don't know if anyone else
It's the
knows about it or
attitude
cares
era
about it.
now.
But
I didn't touch
it's like
I
it's
love
like
it.
old school Tecmo Bowl.
lean all the way into it.
I really liked Return to Monkey Island, just not enough for. I don't even think it's in my honorable mentions. It's just, it was a fun experience at the time, and then you forget about it. That's how it struck me, at least.
That's sad. I know it's a real
Yeah.
beloved franchise.
Yeah.
I wonder if it like mainstayed with a lot of people who are longtime
think
fans. Or
Pro-
something.
probably,
It got
probably
good
resonated
reviews.
with
I
me.
think people liked
did.
it.
Yeah.
But I think it's gonna end up being a kind of a forgettable return for that series.
Mhm.
Not bad, but just kind of like people. Oh yeah, that game. It's that.
Yeah,
It's that game.
exactly.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh,
Couple
Shovel
River
Knight-
City.
Shovel
Go ahead.
Knight Dig too.
I never played Shovel Knight Dig.
That's a pretty fun game. Go ahead. You were gonna say River City Girls? Is
I was
that
gonna say there's a couple of River City entries this year. River City
Oh,
Girls
okay.
2 and then River City Saga.
River City Saga 3 Kingdoms is great. Don't bring it over there. Just it's worth
Okay.
the call out. It's fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see here.
Somerville was like a fun, not fun, atmospheric, like inside.
Yeah, it didn't strike me
type
as
game.
fun. Like, ooh,
No, it's
what a
not
good
fun.
time.
I think you actually said it wasn't fun.
No, yeah, it was actually, that was like the biggest problem with it was that it's
Yeah, that's
about it
unfortunate
bad.
because that looked so cool.
It did look. I really like the art style in that game.
Well,
man.
speaking of
That inside
unfortunate-
story is
Story's
great.
nutty.
Speaking of unfortunate, I think Sports Story is one of my bigger disappointments of the year. So
Oh.
I've still put some time into it. I might keep playing it, but the performance is bad. It just doesn't feel like it's finished. Like some of the
Wow, that's
some of the
so
dialogue
bad.
is fun and
That's
some of the
sad.
gameplay is fun, but elements of it, I'm like, this doesn't feel very polished. Golf Story was a very surprisingly polished, fun little
right.
artsy game that I was not expecting. And this one feels like it's trying to do too much, and it also does a really poor job of guiding you. For a game like this, it needs to do a better job of like, here's where to go next, and it's just not well. It just feels like that extra layer of polish to really make the player have fun is just missing. So I'm
thought-
bummed out by that one.
That is disappointing to hear. I thought we moved Solstice over.
Oh, did we? Yeah, we can move it
I
over.
thought we did.
Yep, move that one over.
I'd like it to be in consideration
Yep,
because I know
I'll-
Derek mentioned it, but I
bump
had
it up.
so much fun playing that for a few
Are
hours.
you the only one who played it? Did anybody else play it?
I don't know.
I played the
I
demo.
haven't bought it.
Yeah, I played
Yeah,
the demo.
I
played
know
the
you
demo.
you spoke like not highly of it, but you enjoyed it, but like,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know if I don't know if anybody else
It's
like
just
showed
down
up
the
for that
stretch.
one.
It gets repetitive, so it's not like it'll make the 10. But
I
I
just
really
I
like
played the
it.
demo of it. I finished The Legend of Tianding. It's a really fun
yeah.
little game, although the difficulty spikes are so. I mean, this is what an indie game is, right? Where it's like
Yeah.
great ideas and really creative, but then the balance and kind of quality of life stuff isn't quite there. So some of the balance wasn't there, but really fun little side-scrolling action RPG.
Two
Legend of
Point Campus is awesome.
I liked it
but
a lot.
it is a reskin. Let's be fair. It's just a different gimmick.
Well,
I loved-
It's the same thing.
I didn't play the first one, so to me it was a new experience, and I still like after 3 hours
I'm
I
bringing
was
it
like,
over. It's
I
good.
beat this. You know,
Yeah.
like I'm never gonna come back to this, but like
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that
Oh,
game while I was
I'm bringing
playing
over
it.
You Suck at Parking.
Yeah, You Suck at Parking is really fun. Really fun. There is obviously a difficulty spike where I eventually just fall off like completely.
Yeah.
I just go, okay, well then I'm done here. I'm done with this game. But it
game
is
is ridiculous.
Once I got to that, before I got to that point though, it was so much fun.
By the way, I did play a little bit of The Last Friend because it got such good reviews. The Last Friend is a post-apocalyptic game. Think of like what's that Tom Hanks movie with the dog
Unbelievable! The movie that came out last year
on Apple? Finch.
Finch, yeah, such a
So
forgettable
it's got-
title.
It's that,
Jesus.
it's that kind of a thing,
Yeah.
but it's very
Also.
colorful, almost like Pyre-like art style, very kind of like bright and colorful. And the idea is it's a tower defense game with some action brawler elements in it. So like you have
That
three.
is not what I would guessed based on.
You have 3 lanes where you're setting up these dog turrets, and so you will start to free these dogs over time, and each of them has a special power, and they could have like a shooting. Think like Plants vs Zombies meets a little bit of something like a Streets of Rage. I don't know. It's hard to describe it unless you play it. It's a unique little game, and the main dog is this Chihuahua who does all the talking, and your main human character just kind of grunts and growls like he's the dog. So it's all just kind of silly, tongue in cheek, and the gameplay is interesting. The Last Friend is kind of a cool little game, but not
The
worth
last of friend.
The Last
Last-
of Friends.
of
The last
friend.
of friend.
It's like a post-apocalyptic Friends reunion.
Yes.
All right, so that puts us at 35 games that we want to have considered
Yeah.
here.
I think
Anything else that we're
A
missing before
slim
we?
35.
Slim
I think a couple games that were beloved, but and even voted on at the Game Awards, but didn't hit us. Was I just saw it. I think it was Citizen Sleeper.
Oh yeah.
I know that was heavily acclaimed.
Norco.
Ghost
Not-
Song.
not for me at all.
People really like
Ghost
Ghost
Song.
Song.
Yeah,
Ghost
Ghost
Song.
Song's actually pretty cool.
I liked it.
I
liked it. Yeah.
I was a teenage exocolonist. I know that was heavily praised.
Even that title just bothers me. I don't know.
Yeah,
why.
I know. As soon as I hear that, I go, no. Immediately, no.
Yeah, this,
Uh,
if
Norco-
they were
by
a
the way-
movie, they'd be playing at the indie only theater for sure.
I have the demo for Nightmare Reaper downloaded, but I haven't tried it. But it looks kind of like Proteus a little bit. That kind of an old school Doom shooter.
Oh,
game.
cool.
But-
I still got to play Proteus. Dang it! I really meant to play it last night, but another
You
game.
didn't.
probably
You would have
gonna talk
played it if
about.
you really meant to. You
No,
would've
no,
done it.
but you know, Kyle,
Yeah.
you know the struggle I had
Yeah.
because I
Kyle's
played
right.
Arcade Paradise instead, and I got
People
lost.
love
Oh,
people love
yeah.
Norco as well.
Yeah, Norco.
That-
Yeah,
that-
these
that Arcade Paradise
text-based
is a
these
black hole.
text-based adventure games can just fall face to the earth.
Oh, by the way, a lot of folks
Stop.
are glowing about the Case of the Golden Idol, which is like this mystery, go and solve the game, Murder on the Orient Express style of
Hmm.
game.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I don't know if it's good, but a lot of people who have played it really like it. Some people are even saying it's their favorite game of the year, which is fine. But
That's
um,
a try-hard opinion if I ever heard
That's
one.
high praise.
high praise. All right, guys, we're gonna move on to our getting these into the top 10 phase. And we don't have to only pick 10 to move over. So a lot of times we'll like bring over 15-ish or whatever, just to kind of,
Yeah.
and then we'll make a cutoff at some point. But
I'm just looking at it. This is what a year, dude. What a year for indies. Holy crap.
a lot of good smaller / indie games. I
Yeah.
totally agree with that.
So many I want to give attention to. It's
Basically,
crazy.
no games came out this year, so
Yeah, boring mid-year. It was totally a mid.
Now, Jeff and Derek, I think, were the main two to play As Dusk Falls. Is that worthy of a top 10
Yes.
consideration?
It's not in mine. But it
Derek is
good.
saying yes. Jeff is a maybe.
so that's surprising because Derek is usually the gameplay guy.
Yeah.
So
What
he
about-
must really like the story.
Yeah,
So
I
I
like
play-
the story a lot, and I'll talk about it. I'll definitely heap praise on it later, but I don't want it personally. I don't want it in the 10. But
Well, I
that's,
played
that's
a
my
good
take.
chunk of Asterigos Curse of the Stars. It's still installed, and I plan on playing it more. Derek finished this game. Did anyone else play it? I think it's a fantastic little
It's fun.
kind of
It's-
Souls-like
it's
meets
my
Immortals,
top
Phoenix Rising.
Non-AAA game. That's my
I'm
number
gonna
one.
move it.
If
to
it's your
our-
number one, it should come over.
Yeah,
One of them
absolutely.
over.
I
Number
feel
one
like
should,
number
like,
ones,
automatically come
regardless,
over.
always need to be
Yeah.
like at least like
So
in
in
the
that-
final discussion.
In that case, just move over Neon White because that's my favorite indie.
Yeah.
It's like hands down.
All right,
Yeah.
well then you have to do Sifu. Then you got to bring Sifu
Yeah,
over.
absolutely. That's my number 2. That is my number 2.
Sifu.
Absolutely.
You're wrong, but that's that's
No,
fine.
Neon White's better. It's got an actual better story and everything. It's thought out, but it's okay. It's all right.
Dan,
I remember all the good stuff you said about Sifu.
what's a no-brainer for you, Dan, to bring over? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, maybe?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, big time.
All right. Let's see here.
Vampire
What's a-
Survivors.
For me, that's a no-brainer. I don't know.
Yeah, for me too. Honestly.
Yeah,
I know
same,
it's
same,
I know it's like
absolutely.
barely anything, but that's part of what makes it so great.
It's funny. I actually played it again last night. I was like, let me just see if I can unlock another character, and I played it for like an hour and a half. I was like, crap, how did I get lost in this game again?
It is.
Um,
it's easy to get lost in that game, honestly. It really
It's
is.
so good. What about
You
Metal Hellsinger? I mean, Dan, I know you loved it. Is it your like a top game for you?
It is because for me, it's like, all right,
Bring it
so
up.
they took the Doom formula and they actually perfected it, and it mixes well with the music,
Yeah,
as
that's
opposed to
really
that other game that Jeff mentioned, which like
Yeah,
interesting
BPM.
concept.
BPM
Yeah.
is like annoying club music, as we
Yeah.
before.
We'll leave As This Falls over too because Derek did like it a
fair.
lot. Derek,
That's fair.
looks like
That's
you're
my
doing
nu-
like a
That's my number 2 game.
looks like you're doing like a Hide My Identity interview right now.
Yeah. Can you talk like a robot? Oh, I didn't see those.
Just 'cause it's so
why,
dark.
why is it all dark? That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Because I turned like the brightness down, it was hurting my eyes.
Um,
But I didn't realize I was like, ooh, that is.
That was
kinda
your
funny.
light. That was your light source.
It wasn't
Kinda
until
like
the
that.
last. It wasn't until the last 24 hours that I had any hope that I'd have support on this one. But I have Arcade Paradise in my top.
You bring that over. You bring it over.
God
We're
damn
at
it.
least talking about it. You bring it over.
That game
That
is
just
freaking.
sounds like a game I would hate.
You would, and that's why we're going to talk
But
about it.
Derek, you have
that's
to
why it's
hold-
funny.
Hold A to load the washer. hold A to load the driver, and I'm not kidding. Like,
yeah.
those are some of the elements.
Yeah, those
And
are.
but sometimes you have to do a couple
loads.
loads at the same time.
True.
That's what she
Let me
said.
tell you something about loads,
she
dude.
said.
No, it's a new year, Dan. You can't do that.
Can't do that anymore.
We're not
I'm
allowed.
still
to
doing it. I'm still
We're
doing
not
it.
allowed to do old jokes, and we're not allowed to talk about Dragon Age and Star Wars.
So
I'm not. That's not happening.
Not in the same breath. Not
I
ever.
put another hour into Chained Echoes last night because I was like, man, I feel like this game would be one of my favorite RPGs if it came out like 15 years ago.
I know.
So I played it a little more, and I'm still not far enough into it to be able to give a true like how great this game is. But
Yeah.
I love it so far. I love it so much.
Yeah.
But
None
it's
of us
so
have played it though.
I'm
It's
so
unfortunate,
early in that game still. I'm still like learning. Like, they
Well,
just
I think
introduced a new
that's one of
character.
them that's hurt by when it released.
Yeah.
December.
So it's more like one where I think, well, I don't even know if it's realistic that any of us would touch it in 2023 just because of the amount of games coming out. But my point is like if this would have came out in the summer, I probably would have played it more.
I might have
I've only
finished it.
played a little bit.
I'm eager to play this game because
Yeah.
it's got mechs in it, and it's
Yeah.
everyone keeps on
When I was-
bringing it
so-
up in the same breath as Chrono Trigger. It's like,
Yep.
it's a must for me at
Yeah.
some point.
I'm glad that it's doing well, and I'm glad it's reviewing well. Because I mean, like again, I saw it and I was like, this does look really interesting, and I'll give it a try. I'll back it. But the fact that like he just the individual, because it's just one guy, and then he kind of whatever you want to call it, basically it was like, oh, this guy will do the music. I don't know what the term I'm trying to think of is.
The score.
Yeah. Well, like having outside people come in and do
Like outsource
yeah,
the music.
outsource. Thank you. Yeah,
The music, by the way, I'm glad you called out the music. I even just yesterday, I'm sitting in the second area. I'm really early in that game,
Mhm.
and I just beat the second boss, and with new characters, and the music is great. I was like, man, this
Yeah.
music is really well done. So
Yeah,
I'm mad I didn't play it now because I would have backed you up on this one. I think, Tim.
Yeah.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
really good one. But if I had to pick one that maybe others have played a little more of, is Cult of the
Yes.
Lamb. I think that
Yeah.
one's highly
Total
worthy
Lamb,
of
That
this.
should be in here. It's doing a
Can
lot.
somebody explain to me what Cult of the Lamb is?
So
You would hate
Cult-
it. You would hate everything
Cult of-
about it.
No, I think you might like it. So like Cult of the Lamb is if Hades, because a lot of Hades type influence, or even like Death's Door as far as the action goes, and you're going like Hades because you're going from room to room that are all procedurally generated. So when you're out doing your fighting, I think you might at least appreciate some of that, like the dodge mechanics and the special moves.
But do you not get to keep your stuff? Like if you die, do you just start over?
No, it's like-
every
it's
run's
like
different,
Hades.
and you start with and like Dead Cells because it's
And like Dead
random,
Cells, yeah.
like with the weapons.
See,
you
I
start with.
really like Dead Cells,
but there's a lot of like base building and
I
like
don't
resource
like
managing.
Yes.
and-
the
Yes.
screw that. But I
yeah,
don't
that's
like
what I'm
There you
talking
go,
about.
Kyle,
I
you're
don't
right.
like when you die, you start over with nothing. Like, I know people are like,
There
hey,
is a
Souls
There's a
games
lot
are
of
like
good
that. They're
permanent
not.
upgrades. In
There's
this.
a lot of really good permanent stuff in this. Yeah,
That's
for sure.
what I care about.
But
like, if I
so
get
for
to keep
example,
Same
you
here.
might
I feel
let's say that you're playing one run and you have a sword and you get poison on it or whatever, and you really like that weapon. But the next run, the only weapon it offers you, at least at the beginning, is an axe that swings slower but does more damage. To me, that's not like losing everything. It's just, all right, I'm playing with a different weapon now because it randomizes what weapon you start with, and then you can maybe buy it or unlock it later through that run. So
I guess
that's where there's a Hades element.
real quick, what I don't like,
Yeah,
and this
I agree.
applies to even AAA games because it applies to Returnal. Like when you die, I don't like. Let's say I have like a level 3 machine gun, and I die, and I start with a pistol.
Yeah.
Right.
Like that's like I want to be able to
I agree.
eventually, if I unlock something, I want to be able to keep that gun and then go through that same level. I don't mind you starting me over. I've never had a problem with that. But let me keep the main stuff that I'm unlocking. And I don't like that.
I
a lot of
understand that.
games
I'm with
don't
you.
do that.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was the
and-
thing with Return. I would have liked it to have been more just a Metroidvania game. That would have been amazing.
So
Same,
think stuff like Hades or even Rogue Legacy 2. I'm looking at that sitting here on the list. Like it's that vibe where it's like you start with a different setup, but it still totally works. Like the new setups that, as far as I've played so far, it totally works. And the base building stuff is very simplistic.
Yeah.
You do
And it's
like
not so much.
But it's enough, though. It's enough. You know what I mean?
The base
It's
building
simplistic,
stuff is
but there's
very
enough
like
engagement.
it's like
very,
linear base building, honestly.
It's very different because it's so cult focused. Like it's literally you're building a cult. Like
Okay,
it's,
I wanted
you know,
to call that out. The cult part's actually quite fun. Like you even
Yeah.
you preach sermons to like get more
Yeah.
more worship essentially from your followers.
Yeah, yeah.
But you have to level them up because they could get convinced to leave your cult. So you want to like try to maintain your followers and keep their devotion coming in.
Yeah,
Like,
I love that aspect. On top,
sometimes
of
you have to
stuff.
like force them to stop worshiping and go to sleep, so to take care of like their mental health and stuff like that, which is kind of cool. You have to remind them to eat, you know. So
Very
I already have 3
You are a
kids.
cult leader.
I don't need.
I already have
more.
3 kids.
very simple element, but if you stream that game, you can actually have like basically an attachment where like the person viewing can like you can actually have them in the game. Like you create a character of the person that's like watching you.
Yeah, every new person that you get, you can change. Like, yeah, that which it's pretty cool if you want to customize all your characters to be like, I'm gonna have all my family members in this game, and you're gonna be a moose, and you're gonna be a deer, and
rename them, pick different like fur colors for them and stuff like that. Yeah. Like it's cute and super violent and really creative. Like to me, that's like
the music is so good too.
The music is great.
This has definitely been worthy of all the praise the industry's been getting on it.
What about Roller Drome?
No.
I mean,
not for 10, but I love it.
Midnight Fight Express is like my number 2, so I feel like that at least has to come over.
So bring that one. Okay.
And I'm already like kind of making peace with Pentiment and Card Shark are in my top 5 for this category.
Okay.
And I'm not expecting those to move over at all. So
I've only diddled both of them. Like Card Shark, I played the demo.
I got my top 2 over. I mean, there's others on here I liked, but I got my top 2. So
yeah, Neon White and Sifu are my top 2. So I mean, that's I got that represented myself.
Honestly, there's 5 of us. That's what we should.
You don't want V Rising, Tim? You don't. You're not. Is that not a big enough splash for you?
It was not in my. Hang on, let me see my top real quick. I think I have it in my top 5. It's number 3. So I've got Neon White and Vampire Survivors above it.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And you got everything you're getting. You don't get any more. Keep your mouth shut.
Tinykin was also like number 6 or something like that for me. Like I love that game. Damn, I just wish that would have had ability to connect to more people.
V Rising is basically a Diablo-esque vampire-themed Valheim experience. Yes. So if that appeals to you, you should try that game out. But the fighting is much more like Torchlight or Diablo because it's got that kind of isometric overhead view sort of. And it's very repetitive at first, but I promise if you stick with it, the combat options really start to open up. As you defeat these hunters and bosses, you get some incredible abilities and weapons. And as you upgrade stuff, like
use a controller in Valheim yet?
Oh, in Valheim, yes.
In Valheim, yeah.
You've been able to the whole time. I actually, that's how I started playing.
But they had an update where they officially have controller support and Steam
Deck. Because when I tried to, I bought it like over a year ago to play with you guys, and
it wasn't official then.
Once. And I don't think I was able to do it.
And now they have it with a controller, and if you hit pause, like it actually pauses the game, unless you're on like a shared server where it's running all the time. But like, you can actually pause it, and it'll bring up like you can see like the map of your controller, like what button does what. Like they truly added support for it now.
I would recommend still using a mouse to build though, because that's what I do. Yeah. But everything else, I'm comfortable with.
I don't build.
Combat's good with a
He's a hunter. He doesn't build.
the combat with the controller is actually like, oh, this is pretty fun. Like it works.
So like next time y'all play, I might play it just because I did buy it over a year ago and literally put 30 seconds into the game.
I think you looked at it and you were like, no, and you closed it.
I think it's beautiful.
You might
at the very least you'll have fun. We were into some deep shenanigans whenever we
were having a good time. And there are truly moments, like I know it's pixelated. There are moments when the light's coming through the trees over the water. You're like,
even on my like low powered laptop, I'm like, this game's really pretty. Yeah, I really like the vibe of the game.
This was my first time in our session like a week ago or whenever that was that I played on 4K finally. In that game, and I was like actually kind of floored by how gorgeous it was.
Dude, the night sky is I think for me the money shot.
Yeah, it's got a good skybox. Yeah.
All right. Not for broadcast might be in that like most creative game category.
Yeah.
Had that for me. Not for broadcast. You literally are a director of a newsroom. And it's all kind of comedy and silly. Like it's like a sketch, but they're still doing the news, and you have to like cut to certain cameras or like and there's a 2-second delay. So if they swear online or like live TV, you have to hold the censor button to like bleep it out for broadcast and stuff. You pick what ads to run. It's all very VHS and very analog. But man, is it a creative?
It's like if Devolver took the energy from their E3 conferences and put it in a video game. That's what it feels like.
Their sketches feels a lot like a Devolver sketches.
Yeah.
100%.
Like their ads, especially, feel very retro and stupid. It's just fun.
How is Anno Mutationum not on the other side yet?
Because some of us
Bring it
have made
over.
sacrifices.
I played it. Yeah, I played it. I'll back that one up.
How's
with you.
that?
I
Okay,
played the
so
demo
if that's
and I
the case,
thought it
then
was.
Pentiment gets over there.
Let me
Is that
ask
what we're
this:
gonna
Did
do?
everybody get their top 2 over though?
Yeah,
at
Dan,
least?
what did you get your top 2 over from your personal list? If you have a personal list.
Yeah, I guess it would probably be Sifu and Ninja Turtles.
Okay.
Okay.
And we got Metal Hellsinger there.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're at 10 now.
We are.
That is a good 10
anything
too.
else over?
It's a solid
That is a
10.
good 10. There's nothing left that I would personally say, hey, as a group of 5, we need to consider this. Like I
Right.
loved Eiyuden Chronicle Rising personally, and some of you loved some of the other ones personally.
I really like
yeah,
Proteus,
West.
but not enough to bring it over. I think Proteus is really cool though. So
I let down
This is
Gaston
really
not playing it at all last night. ahead of this.
Gaston, that game
Sorry,
is
buddy.
great, and we're all wrong. Okay,
Proteus
I
is
just want you to know that.
fantastic.
I enjoyed my time with Proteus.
You know what's
Yeah.
funny is
We have
hold on.
fans of Proteus here.
Stray was nominated for Game of the Year at the Game Awards. It's not even out.
Dude, can I just be honest? As the person who hasn't played this game, screw that, f that game, dude.
I know.
Like,
I
I have
Well,
not
someone
played
who
it.
has
dumb
played it.
cat game, like get out of
I-
here.
No, it is not a dumb cat.
I
It's a
completed
dumb
that
game.
game and I think it's really good. But it's
Yeah, but
Yeah.
not bring it over good. So
I think it is,
and
but,
that's what
you
I'm
know,
making
then
fun
we're-
of. Yeah.
I have it as my number 7 on this particular like non-AAA list.
That's not good enough. Get the frick out of here, stupid pussy.
Okay.
He
Right,
means
see,
cat.
that's too
Okay,
far.
we don't
That's
need
too
to-
far.
okay,
That's too
cat.
far.
So I liked it. Like to me, it's a good like 7.5, 8 out of 10 type of a game.
Yeah.
That's where it lives. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's not game of the
so-
year though, for sure.
Yeah. So
But is
Serious.
it Thymesia, which is top 3? Like it's
Top 3,
objectively,
sure,
it's not
of course.
subjectively,
It's
guys.
not even
subjective.
objective.
I don't
Right.
know.
Subjective.
It's objectively top 3.
It is
One person
objective
played
because
that, you
my
know?
college professor gave me a degree that says it's objective. Okay.
All right.
And I write
I have a
stories.
degree.
I have a degree.
All right. Sorry, all the dumb inside jokes. Those of you listening are like, what's wrong with you?
What
They're
is
just
it?
like
we
saying
talk
random
way
words.
too much in chat. We really do.
They're saying random.
Yeah. All right. So we've got 10 that we've moved over. We've got Asterigos, Neon White, Sifu, Ninja Turtles, Vampire Survivors, Metal Hellsinger, As Dusk Falls, Arcade Paradise, Cult of the Lamb, and Midnight Fight Express. I think it's a pretty good
Should
list.
we feel?
10.
Does anyone feel like something on here shouldn't be on here? Does everyone feel good about this? I mean, I feel good about it.
Derek, is As Dusk Falls in your top 2?
Yeah, it is my number 2 for
Oh,
this
okay.
list.
I'm just making sure because that was the only one that was like it wasn't even in my 10 for best indie.
Like I
Um,
not only love the story, I actually thought it was fun to like play, like just
Mm.
be in the game.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. Okay. So I feel like a game like Sifu, all 5 of us have played at least a good chunk of and really liked a lot. Is that?
No,
fair-
I
At
didn't
least
like.
4
I
of
didn't
us.
like it.
At least 4
I
of
didn't
us.
like it.
Oh, you didn't
Yeah.
like it? I thought you did.
Yeah, I didn't like it. I played like 10 minutes and I didn't like it.
That's not enough.
And
For
I
some reason, I thought
just
you
went,
played more.
I just went back to it
It's
though. To
not.
be fair, it's not
Okay.
like I played it just at launch. I just went back to it. I was like, nope, I don't want to play this.
So I did just play it at launch, but I have really good memories of it, and I do plan on 100% going back to it
Yeah.
at some point. But I thought it was very, very good from what I played.
As someone who beat the game, it is very good. So.
Yeah, I beat it
Yeah.
too.
It's-
Yeah, I beat it
Oh,
as
well,
well.
then Jeffrey also beat it. So.
Yep.
I beat it too. Yeah.
I love this game. I
I
love it
love-
so much. And
yes,
going
but
through
did
it-
you guys
going
beat
through
it
it
at
again-
like pro gamer level or?
No.
did you-
Why does it?
Who
I don't care.
cares?
It's not even a part of the conversation.
They're very embarrassed they did not do that.
No, we're not.
I am,
give a
and we need to
shit.
stop dwelling on it.
Life's too short. I don't.
I
care.
just wanted to
Um,
set Daniel Freitas up to be like that snob gamer again. But you know what?
I mean,
guys?
I beat it
we
on
already,
vanilla.
we already know this, though. We already know this. I mean, yeah.
I
So
beat
those
it
are-
on
We
Dark
gave him his
Souls.
accolades. He already got congratulated.
Well.
It's easy. It's easy mode turn now. Okay, it's my turn.
I feel like the games that we all I thought Sifu was one of them, but maybe it's at least that's 4 out of 5. Really love that one. I feel like Ninja Turtles is another one that everyone likes a lot.
Well,
Yeah.
not Derek again.
Not Derek.
Contrarian boy doesn't like
He
it.
is gonna hate this list.
Yeah.
Hey,
By the
that's
time it's
why
done,
all I
he's
said
so
is
outnumbered.
I just want my top 2. That's it. That's all.
I
Yeah.
think that's fair. Yeah.
This
That's
isn't
fair.
my list though. Like this is more you guys' category. This is not my category.
Is combat
But we
shared,
all,
or
but
you know,
y'all,
wait
dude.
till
Okay,
that,
so
you know?
you have two people who have Neon White on their top 10 that I know of at least, and then two
Neon
other
White's
people
in
who
my
have played
top
it
3
are.
for the year.
It's in
That's
my
what I'm
top
saying.
3. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And then you have three guys. Come, Jesus Christ. And then you have two
Yeah,
people who've
it's
also
really
played
great.
it who really enjoyed it as well. So it's like, why are we not talking about that as being like number 1 or number 2? Because it
Yeah.
sounds like that's.
Well, because I feel like our collective love of Sifu is stronger than Tim and I's like overwhelming love for Neon White.
Yes.
Like I feel like
I agree.
You
with you.
guys just said you had it in top 3. I feel like
yeah,
that's
I know, but
ammo.
Sifu's
That's
in my
ammo
top
to
5.
use.
Yeah.
Top
whatever,
3 of
6,
your
whatever.
top 10, like overall top 10
No,
list?
sorry. It's my top for this category, and I think it's
Oh.
number 5 overall for the year.
Okay.
Okay.
Or 4. Maybe it's 4 overall for the year.
Neon
I
White's
have to go.
definitely in my top because I didn't play Elden Ring. So that's in my top 3 overall of the year.
So Asterigos is in my top 10. Like I'm talking overall. I'm not talking
Yeah,
about.
yeah.
I don't have a little.
Well, I
game
mean,
list.
3 actually, one game is not. That's not even in this 10. Is in my top
Pentiment.
10 overall, and that's Pentiment.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sifu and Neon White are like Neon White's top 3, and Sifu's like in the lower 10.
Well,
somewhere.
then I think those two have to, unless Dan wants to argue against it. Those two have to be in the top 2.
Those are up in the top,
I
I
don't know
think.
which one you want, but they should be
Yeah.
the top 2.
I think you should weigh in. What do you like more, Dan? Do you like Neon White more or Sifu more? You're being very quiet.
I haven't played enough of Neon White, but I would definitely say Sifu. Absolutely, for me, Sifu's
See,
Sifu's
yeah.
number 1. Like,
Yeah, Seafood
Okay.
is
Sifu's my
very
number
much
1. Yeah.
strikes me
Yeah,
as a
I'm not
very
gonna
strong
hate
Kyle
on
and Dan
that.
game.
I think Sifu would be fine
Sifu's
at 1.
awesome, man. That's especially the. I haven't
Seafood's
even
almost a
mentioned this
AAA
yet.
game with how good it
I
is.
haven't.
honestly.
It is.
Yeah,
That's what it
Well,
feels
so
like. How
It's a
good it
very
looks,
competent video
but
game.
when you actually go back and do the story again and do what you're supposed to do, because there is like a Wu-Day, I think that's what they call it, like a frame of mind you're trying to achieve in this realm of fighting, where you show mercy to your opponents, and if you go back and do that, it just adds so much more to the story and stuff. So like, this
Interesting.
story is actually a little more layered than they've let it on to be.
well,
All
it's
right,
I was gonna say
ahead.
this. It's kind of a weird bridge, but Callisto Protocol, right? Where I don't know how many of you did play it, but there's the dodge mechanics in that game. So you're holding left, holding right to sort of dodge things, but it's so simple, right? And sometimes it does feel like it could still be kind of ironed out and done better. And that's a AAA game. But you have something like Sifu where you're doing left and right, but you're also like lifting your leg up to dodge a sweep or duck to for a high attack.
Yeah.
Like, this is an indie game or a smaller team, right? And they perfected martial arts game where there's different coming from different directions. Like,
I don't know if I've ever played a game like that's so martial arts focused that felt this good. And
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
across all of gaming ever,
These
like,
are the guys that made Absolver, I believe.
Well, another
And
Kung
fighting
Fu
game.
Go
game.
play
yeah.
Absolver, you'll realize like they know how
These
to make.
guys were,
I like
these guys were
Absolver,
destined to make
yeah.
this game for
Good
sure.
call. I forgot they made Absolver. That's a good
I
call.
did too. Yeah.
Yeah.
They definitely perfected that combat then. Since
So for me, Neon White, and we'll talk about it more throughout other categories too.
Yeah.
Neon White, I'm trying not to let the fact that it surprised me so much weigh in on it, because it really did. Like I got it on sales like $16,
Yeah,
and
but
I saw
that
the
matters.
reviews. But
Like,
I played it and I was like,
matters, yeah.
I was like, this looks like Anime Mirror's Edge. Two things that I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of. Those
Right.
two things, right?
I mean, I like
I
Mirror's
hate,
Edge, but I'm
I actually
with you.
hate both of those things. So,
But I played
yourself
it at its
like-
beginning, and I was just like, okay, the first couple levels are very quick. They're teaching you the ropes. Then you kind of get to this main hub, this heaven area, and you start to talk to characters like, oh, this is a little more story narrative centric than I thought. Okay. Then you start to get to more levels, and they give you a few more abilities, a few more weapons, and these cards, special ability. And I was like, wow, this is pretty creative. I honestly went through a whole roller coaster experience of thinking like, I'm probably not going to like this, but I'll try it. All right, I kind of like it a little bit, but I'll probably stop playing it. By the end, I was like, is this my favorite game this year? Like, it might. Like, I honestly loved the experience, start to finish, and that's the story too. So to me, that's why I love it being at number 2. I just think it's so good. It's my top for this pick, but I think Sifu's also deserving. So I like Sifu in this at number 1 and number 2. If everyone else is comfortable with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I also think, and I'm just doing this, I pay attention to what people are saying. I'm just doing overall feel. I think like either Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Vampire Survivors has to be 3.
Yeah.
Let's talk Teenage. Is that what did everyone play that?
Yes.
Yeah, that was
I did play like half of Teenage.
yeah, that
Okay.
was a super fun one with my kiddos too.
I like this one a lot. Yeah.
The multiplayer aspect adds so much to it because I tried it with just strangers and we ended up playing with all 6 of us and it was just pure chaos and mayhem and it was so much fun and there was never like, oh, this guy dropped, oh, there's a lag. There was never any problems at all.
Yeah, for me it was just
It's
this
great.
was a weekend of the summer that my kids and I all sat in front of the TV playing on the Xbox One X, by the way, on that last gen console. But we had 4 controllers and we were just taking turns. It was a lot of fun. I know you can go up to 6 players, but we only did 4 at a time, only 4 controllers. And so, but this was like one weekend of a ton of fun, laughing / yelling at each other, and beat that game and thought it was so fun. And to me, it's just it's got that combination of like great fun couch co-op multiplayer. Sounds like good online multiplayer, but also like we got to give props to the visuals. Like they really nailed the Ninja Turtles aesthetic.
It's a really good looking game.
They just
see. I would rate it 3 because I think they nailed the nostalgia while still being modern.
I was gonna say,
definitely.
I don't love this game. Meaning, like I had fun when I played a little bit with Eli. I was like, oh, this would be a cool co-op game. But I've tried to play it by myself and I got bored. But
it's a co-op game. It's definitely a social game. When I have friends over just to hang out and stuff like that, like this would be the thing I threw on and put a controller in people's hands while we just like jibber jabbered.
It's
jibber jabber.
It's jibber jabber. It's nostalgia perfected, is what it is.
It is. It's weaponized and effective. Yeah.
You know what? And the fact that you mentioned nostalgia, but also somebody mentioned it. I can't remember who. They added enough stuff to make it feel modern, like in terms of like the upgrades that you can do, and like some of the ways you can power up to do your special moves and stuff like that. Like they just added the right amount of upgrades.
There's more to the move set than it was back in the day. Back in the day, it was definitely much more simple, but still fun. But they added stuff.
I want to hear about Midnight Fight Express too. I have to step away real quick, but you guys talk about some of the other stuff we haven't mentioned yet, like Midnight Fight Express or Metal House.
Well, should we move Vampire Survivors to 4? Does everybody okay?
I think we should, honestly, because it not just because
before
Tim
we
and
do
I
that
like
though,
it,
and I do love it. I want to talk about it here in a minute, but you guys talk about some of these we haven't yet, and I'll be right back.
Okay.
So I personally feel like, and I never played Vampire Survivors, but just the vibe of the group. Dan, did you play Vampire Survivors?
No, not yet. No, I haven't tried.
All right, so there's 3 of you that like it, right? The other 3 played it.
Yeah,
I like quite a bit. Yeah,
I do love this game, and it's like not even like a thing where it's like, well, the industry told me I love it, so I should love it on the podcast or whatever. It's not one of those things where I hear people talk about it and I go, "You're a tryhard." I played it and then I went, "Oh, people were right. Whoops!" Like
I found this game before it got super big. I was just like, "Oh, look at this!" Like Bruce was playing it from Funhouse, or it used to be Funhouse, was playing on a stream, and like at this time, like nobody really knew about this game. And I was like, "This looks really fun. I'm gonna buy it." And like that was almost a year ago. I think that game came out like January 2021. I'm sorry, December 2021.
Okay.
Or 2020 maybe. Excuse me. It was an early access, for a long time.
Yeah.
But it got big like in February though of this year, and then came out officially later. And like I was playing it, I was aware of it back in February, and then I started playing it immediately when I got my laptop back in May. And I've been playing it ever since. And it's just like it got so big, and I never in a million years would have thought that like it was going to be on people's top 10 and everything like that. Not that it doesn't deserve to be. It's just like I never thought that this game would be big, because it just gives me Robotron. I don't know if y'all ever played Robotron back in the day. But that's all it is. It's just like you're a guy and you're in the middle of a screen, you're shooting and killing everybody, and you're trying not to die for as long as you go. It's the same exact game, but like but you're playing this, you can play it with one hand because you auto shoot. And like as you get more like weapons and items and stuff like that, you're doing more in a circumference or an area around you of attacks and stuff like that. And by the end of the game, there's so many things on screen, the game will actually start to look like it's about to crash. And it's
but it looks old, so it's fine.
Yeah,
basically,
it's fine, and like it's kind of part of the charm where it's like it's so crazy the game can't even keep up with itself. And
so
I don't know, man. It's just like it's a big surprise. It's like when Tim talks about how surprised he was about Neon White. Like I think this game surprised everybody on that level.
Which one?
Vampire Survivor.
We aren't talking about the
I
other
think
games you wanted us to talk about. We're talking about Vampire Survivor.
Yeah, the one that you said you wanted to.
Well, because I'm trying to
I
gauge,
love
like,
this game. I love it.
I'm trying to
It's my number
gauge
2 in this
what
category.
everybody has played and then their feelings behind it. So, like, we know Vampire Survivors 3 out of the 5 played it and loved it.
Yeah.
So then you would move to Metal Hellsinger. I only played like 30 seconds of Metal Hellsinger. It's not my thing. Like, I don't care about that game.
I played the whole demo, which I think is just through the first boss. Does that sound about right? I think.
Yes.
I thought it was super cool. I just didn't necessarily feel like I wanted to play the full game. I felt like I get what this is and what a cool concept. And it plays like Doom 2016 in some ways with this cool. I liked it. It wasn't on my personal list, but I totally get the appeal for other folks.
So that's 2 not caring about it. Did anybody else besides Daniel play Metal
I
Hellsinger?
haven't tried it because
I really wanted to play
I just
it.
know
I
that
just
these
didn't get around to it.
rhythm based shooters are just not I'm just not good at them, so I don't enjoy them. So I didn't bother.
Other
to
ones?
me, Metal Hellsinger should be moving down. Like, that should be
Potentially
one that should be down, like a lower end game.
Okay.
And then
that might be the same.
Astergos,
I think of Astergos the same as I do Metal Hellsinger. Honestly, I put
Yeah.
those both, and boy, these are really
like,
cool,
that's
and they deliver
my
on their
top
concepts.
game. But does anybody else care about that game? It's my number
It's,
one.
it's good. I just don't feel that strongly about it.
I like
Okay.
it.
I didn't have any interest in playing beyond the demo, but it's not because of not liking. It's just like I'm over Souls.
This is
games,
a good
so
example of a game where
that's
the demo
thing.
didn't really do it justice. I will say that.
Yeah, definitely.
I would agree with that. I actually the demo turned me off from wanting to buy it. It was, I think the story I shared was that I actually watched Fighting Cowboy play the actual game, and then I realized the demo was different from the game, and then I was like, this actually looks fun, and then I played it.
That's pretty rare. Usually a demo will help sell a game. It'll help like, all right, win you over or
That's
not.
the goal.
And I think this is a good example of where, I don't know why, there's something about the demo that just didn't quite click, but the game itself, especially as you unlock different weapons and you can start picking your own path of how you want to play.
It's how the game starts. Like, if they did the demo where they started off with you getting to choose what weapons you want, stuff like that, maybe that would have been better. But they started you literally from the very beginning of the game, and then they end it with a boss fight that isn't actually a boss fight in the game. He's actually a good character that you just like chat with.
And in the main game, you're supposed to lose to him. In that first fight with him. But anyway.
Yeah, whereas I fought him all the way to the death, and he was frustrating because I was.
So I've got in my mind, I've got games like Astergos and Metal Hellsinger, and honestly, kind of Midnight Fight Express, all in that same category in my head, where I'm like, I really liked these, but I didn't play them for super long. I just really liked what I played of all 3 of those. So I have all 3 of those. And then
maybe like
these are all in the same category for me.
Midnight Fight Express is my number 2, but I'm totally fine. I feel like people are championing that one.
I feel like Sifu masters some of what Midnight Fight Express has more combat options. Don't get me wrong, but it kind of like masters at least the hand-to-hand stuff like so perfectly that it's like, well, that category is a little bit represented already. But Midnight Fight Express does have all these other options in terms of environmental play and gunplay and stuff like that.
A little more arcadey too, like beat your score.
One of my favorite scores of the entire year too, or collection of music.
Oh, dude, yes, I think he, I think he curated a great. I think it's one guy that
tier music.
I think it's one guy that made the game or whatever. He curated like a great,
very Hotline Miami style.
Yeah, exactly. It's like kind of borderline club music, but it's a little more tolerable than that.
And I don't like bleep bloop music, and like so if I'm liking this, there's something good there.
Is Kyle the only one that likes Midnight Fight more than Cult of the Lamb though? Because I get the vibe that Cult of the Lamb would probably be.
I like Cult of the Lamb is more universally liked. So
Dan, have you played Cult of the Lamb?
I like it too. I like it.
No, not yet. No.
Okay.
I think you'd like it, Dan. Yeah.
I think the art style mixed with some of the creativity and the music too. I think you'll like that game. Actually, that could be really cool on the stream. You were talking about that before.
Yeah, that's a popular
really good stream game. Yeah.
But okay,
so I think that's your number 5. To be honest with you, I don't
Cult of the Lamb.
See anything else. Yeah, I don't see anything unless y'all love 4. Arcade Paradise.
Yeah, actually, yes.
How long do y'all have? How long do you have to talk about this?
I have about 5 minutes now.
So
this is honestly the only list that I could see Arcade Paradise making.
Arcade
for the
Paradise.
Rest of the debates, honestly,
I agree with you because it is It is a game that, like, on paper, honestly sounds really dull, even to someone who likes a good life simulator like I do. Like, you run a laundromat, you have to actually run loads of laundry in a good amount of
You
time
have
to
to
get
unclog
paid.
toilets.
You have to pick up garbage from around.
trash.
Like, it
Yeah.
sounds
Pick
like
gum. You have to
the
take
dumbest
and that's a
thing.
mini
You have to
game
pick
too.
gum off. Yeah.
But the idea
gosh.
is that you're this young person whose dad is disappointed in you and wants you to prove yourself by running this laundromat. That's all he wants you to do. But you happen to have some arcade machines in the back that you realize quickly, hey, these make more money than the laundry machines do. So over time, you start to get more machines, and you open up that space. You can upgrade it to get like a bigger arcade that now has these cool neon signs.
I just
and you
did the
start to
first
get-
room upgrade, and I'm like, this looks like
Yeah.
from the '90s, like the arcades I used to go
And
to.
so you
It's
start
that
That
part
part
upgrading
looks
that's
like the
cool.
inside of Putt Putt.
And you
Yeah.
can start just playing the games and just forget about laundry, let their baskets sit there and you just play arcade games and like, but then it has like all these management aspects where you can change prices if you want to, but also if you play an arcade, let's say you're playing the warehouse stacking arcade game. If you complete certain challenges in that game can now make you a higher amount of money throughout each day.
Yeah. Each
the
game
games
has what is it, like 3 or 4 goals?
like these
for
goals
each
and
game?
achievements.
Yeah. So it's a game. It's like Gameception. There's several
game within a
mini
game.
games you can play.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the time goes by quickly. Like next thing you know, it's like 11 p.m. and you're like, crap.
Yeah, I'm like, what the
supposed
hell?
To
We have to
the
close
laundromat.
already? Yeah, I didn't make enough money to buy a new cabinet though.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
So it is a very
and the music is really good. Like depending on where you're at or what's going on, there's all this music. There's all this really interesting kind of like, I don't want to call it social commentary, but like just social parody where it's like like Nancy TV, NTV, you know, and very like kind of rock and roll, you know, kind of art and stuff like that. It's cool, man.
Like it more than Cult of the Lamb.
I do.
Personally, yeah. I think Arcade Paradise is way better than Cult of the Lamb, but I like Cult of the Lamb a lot too. So
would this is this have a good pacing for streaming? Because I mean, like I am curious.
This is the perfect any game like this or Gas Station Simulator or even Power Wash Simulator. These games are made for streaming. And I don't know why people like Tim and I like it, because I feel like only streamers should like these types of games.
You know the difference though is this one actually has video game stuff in it because you're playing arcade games. That's the difference.
Yeah, it's not just a simulator. Yeah, there's 50% of it's like simming.
But some of it, like even throwing the garbage into the dumpster or picking gum off the wall, like
they're mini games.
It's like a little mini game.
Even plunging the toilet is like a mini game.
The toilet.
Yeah.
And it'll say like defeated when you like.
And Kyle mentioned the music. I just wanted to hammer home like that. Each room has its own music. Like if you go into the laundromat, it's the elevator boring ass music.
Sure.
And then when you go to the arcade, it's a little more lively. And then when you go to the office, it's the music that the person you're playing as listens to. It's like the punk rock music, the grunge music of that era.
You can also upgrade and get a jukebox, which I haven't gotten yet. And
I haven't gotten that yet.
You can use like different music playing there, and then also there are daily goals. And when you do those daily goals, you get a second set of currency, and you go on like a fake version of eBay to pick up like different abilities or perks.
You get like special running
that.
shoes that lets you sprint now if you want to run.
You a little quicker,
like
which is perfect because I definitely want to get all those loads of laundry done. Because it's like if you get an S tier rating, it's $30 per load.
It's $30 in your pocket, dude.
It's $30, dude. So yeah, I pay attention to those alerts whenever.
There's been times when I've left it sit overnight, and you come back and you get a C, and I'm
like, it's like
you get booze. They boo you too.
This sounds like the worst game ever made.
You would love it.
Well,
it's number 1, guys. Let's put it up there. Let's do it. Let's do it. Be bold. Be bold.
Here we go.
It won Best of PAX East award.
Did it really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize. Yeah.
It's a great game. So I would put it above. Honestly, I'd put it at the top of these. I would put it above all these that are down here.
I would too, personally.
I would do that. Then maybe Cult of the Lamb, and then maybe we can hash out
5 and then 6 should be Cult of the Lamb.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And then you have to start to. This is where, like, to me, you have Midnight Fight is Kyle's game, Astergos is mine, Metal is Daniel, and then As Dust Falls is me and Jeff both liking it. Him not loving it, but like me liking it.
I really liked it. It's just not compared to other games that we've vetoed already. So like like it's just just a busy year.
I actually kind of like this order that it's sitting in right now.
I kind of do too.
Like if from me personally, my experience with each of these games.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, I'm fine. Like I said, this isn't the category I'm gonna fight for anything. Only thing I will say, because I might bump Metal a lot, is Astergos.
I think it should be up. But
I think so too.
Actually, shut up. Astergos is a really good.
Hang on. I I would actually do it like this because I'd probably do something like that. That's probably how I would order.
Now I don't like this, but that's all right.
Hold on. So
If I'm outvoted, that's
this
fine.
is the one. This is my just the one argument of like Astergos versus Metal Hellsinger. Astergos is like a Souls type of game, right?
No.
I mean, it's like not really. It's more
No?
of an
More like-
old school third-person action adventure game.
Okay.
It's more like
well, I
Immortal.
heard somebody
It's-
mention
it's more
Souls,
like
so.
Immortal.
Phoenix
It
Rising.
has. I know what Kyle's talking about. Like if you die, you lose your stuff.
Oh,
but
okay.
dude, it has
it's,
like
it's roll hit. Like it's
it's
like
like levels of difficulty.
It is
Like
Well, so
you
the
can
main thing-
drop it to easy. Like you don't have
yeah,
to play.
that's
Yeah.
the cool thing
game.
is you can like there is a.
It's
difficulty.
more of an action adventure game. It reminded me. I used the example of what's that Star Fox game? I'm forgetting.
Oh yeah,
Star
Star Fox
Fox.
Adventures.
Star Fox Adventures was like one of my favorite games
GameCube,
back in
yeah.
the day, and that's
GameCube.
the vibe I got while I was playing it.
Yeah.
So
Like
my main
linear exploration where you can kind of do some side paths, but it's relatively linear. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
my main argument for Metal Hellsinger, just to throw it out there, is like it is more unique in my opinion. They executed on it like pretty perfectly. Like
No,
yeah,
would
it's a
agree.
rhythm
I would
game,
agree.
and rhythm
I get
games
if you
can
don't
go
like
f off.
Okay, well anyways.
Midnight Fight Express was made by one person. That's my argument.
Yeah, that's fair. But I'm just saying for Metal Hellsinger, they perfected what that type of game is. It's a Doom
So
type
then
of
why
game.
don't as Dust Falls should sit at 10, right?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
what we need to do is figure out the order of these three because each one of us feels very passionate about it. So that's where we could do the voting for
The
those
voting thing.
games.
Okay.
Dan, was there something else you were gonna say about Metal Hellsinger?
Oh no, I was just gonna say I feel like Midnight Fight probably for overall you guys it would be above, right? That would be the one after Cult of the Lamb. I just feel like that seems to be the
Possibly.
consensus, but
I
Well,
honestly,
that's why I think we should vote. I think it's
Okay.
gonna end up being
Yeah.
Midnight Fight, Metal, and then Astergos is what I actually think it's gonna be.
well, all right. Let me do the math. Hang on a second here.
math.
Boop, boop, boop.
Math man.
I can just do it where everyone can see it. Whatever. We don't have to hide this. All right. So we'll start with Kyle. Which one? So if this one's down, so it's just between these three. All right. So you're going to give out points of 3, 2, and 1. How would you distribute them?
Midnight Fight gets 3 points. Metal Hellsinger gets 2. Astergos gets 1.
Derek?
I hate Kyle.
I don't like
three-
that game. I don't think it's good at all.
3 for Astergos.
And this is how you
1
rank
for
it. not-
Metal.
Okay. Try not to do
2
it
for
based on like
Midnight.
who you want to win. Try to anyway, whatever. That's the hard part is like how do I divvy up the math here? That's how you would actually rank them. Dan, how would you rank these 1 through 3 or however you want to do it? 3 to 1.
Yeah, so Metal would get 3, Midnight would get 2, and Astergos would get 1.
And Jeff, what about you?
I don't really believe in this system. Oh no, I'm kidding.
It's okay if you don't.
Democracy is stupid. Yeah.
Midnight Fight Express gets the most points. All the points. Stop the count, and then
God damn.
shit. Astergos, I guess, gets 2, and then Metal Hellsinger gets 1. Shit. Didn't expect it to go that way, but
There you go. That's surprising to me too.
Democracy.
Yeah, I have to just go based on which one
That's
I played
fine.
the most and really enjoyed. So I'm giving 3 to Astergos. I'm gonna give 2 to Metal. Oops. And 1 to Midnight. So then we
still end up tied.
No, it's all right. That's when you go to the
11.
Metacritic.
I think Midnight Fight Express has the highest, but we can check.
it does. I think it's got an 81.
And
Great.
Astergos is swimming in 7s.
Where was Midnight? Oh, there it is. A 78.
Okay,
I
and
think
then
Astergos is
Astergos should be
74.
76.
Where was Astergos? Did I miss
Maybe
it?
it's higher. Maybe it's
Might be
78.
higher, yeah.
There it is. 76.
Are
So
they
it's
both
close.
76?
Jesus.
Wait, Midnight Fight Express was a 78 right here.
Oh,
78,
okay.
Okay.
So
No, I thought it was.
Midnight
I literally thought it was supposed 76 too, Derek. So
It's like, oh my gosh.
That's as close as it gets.
we're never gonna get
Sure.
out of this.
Pretty sure Metal in the 80s, but that's fine. That's fine. Oh, that's fine.
But we
It
didn't
doesn't
vote
sound
for
fine.
but it wasn't tied.
That gives us our top
It's
10
a flawless
small,
system. It's flawless.
small or non AAA.
Hey, it
Hey,
actually worked.
yeah, I like it.
It just works.
It just works.
It just works.
So our
Alright,
top 10
Todd.
for best small or non-AAA game, starting at number 10, working our way up, is As Dusk Falls at 10, Metal Hellsinger at 9, Asterios Curse of the Stars at 8, Midnight Fight Express at 7, Cult of the Lamb at 6, Arcade Paradise at 5, Vampire Survivors at 4, TMNT at 3, Neon White at 2, and Sifu as our best small or non-AAA game of 2022.
I like
Not
this
too bad.
list. What can I say? Good list.
Not
No
too
Stray, no Tunic. We failed the system. No Thymesia.
Did no one want to fight for Tunic? Or is it just you who really liked it, Derek? Or did y'all?
I
how do
wouldn't
y'all
even
feel
say
about
I
that?
really liked it. I just played like the first hour or so, and I was like, "Oh, this is like a Zelda game.
That's
It's cool." And
exactly
then,
what I did.
but it was too Souls-like. So
Yeah.
being a Souls guy, I actually didn't like that it was too Souls-like.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
was just
thought-
coming off of
I
Elden
just wanted
Ring.
to
I was
play
like,
like
I do
a
not want to
Zelda
play
game.
another one of these.
I thought it was a very cool and stylized game, but
I
as
liked
I
it.
started to get through it and like unlock areas and backtrack a ton, I was like, for me personally, the way the game is set up was not that appealing. Like the way the actual like moment to moment wasn't.
Well,
So
I'm not a big fan when you put me in a game and don't give me a weapon, but give me enemies that can kill me in like one shot. So.
even after I got the weapon, I was kind of like, yeah, I like this, but it's not amazing. Like Death's Door, I thought did that kind of thing way better.
I think Death's Door is way better.
Yeah, Death's Door is way better. So I think, unfortunately for Tunic, I was comparing it to recent games that were similar, and Death's Door was just a much.
Yeah, I think I was kind of in the same headset you guys were, where
I
it's
didn't
like
love it. Yeah.
where it's like another hard game. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kinda
Again,
out
I
right
just
now.
came off of Elden Ring. I was like, I cannot dodge and hit anymore.
Right.
Yeah, that's
so
my
tired of
that's my
that.
only issue. Like,
with that mechanic.
When we
Yeah.
get to the best visuals, though, I mean, I feel like we'll be talking about that game more.
Oh, for sure.
Very pretty.
For
sure.
Yeah.
All right, guys, we got to move things along. This is our swimming in sevens category. Of course, there's no like group ranking. We don't have to debate over where these rank. These are just some of your favorites that are not allowed to have a 80 or above on Metacritic. That's the only rule. If it's got 80 or above, you can't count it in this category. So this is a chance to show some love to games that maybe reviewed a little bit on the above average to good scale, but not great, but that you really like. So if you haven't made that list yet, that's fine. I'll go through mine first to give you guys some time in case you need to just review on the. You can use that all games list I provided to kind of see the
Yeah,
Metacritic
yeah,
scores
yeah.
if that helps.
Sure.
But I will give you my personal picks for swimming in sevens. I'm going to give a top 10, and I won't talk a lot about all of them just for the sake of time. Of course, that'd take way too long.
I only did a 3.
So I've got 10 that I'll go through real quick that were on my list. As a quick honorable mention is Trek to Yomi, and we'll talk about that one later too with visuals. That's really where that game shines. The gameplay is not great in Trek to Yomi, but man, are the visuals amazing. So I wanted to give that one just a shout out. But for me, swimming in sevens, number 10 is WWE 2K22.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah.
That was a really fun game that I do plan on revisiting too. They just they're kind of back to form with making a fun wrestling game.
Mhm.
I did not expect to enjoy it. I kind of expected to be like mad that I spent the money, but I wasn't. I enjoyed my time with that game. Number 9 is Asterios, Curse of the Stars. That game's in the 70s on Metacritic, but I thought it was a very competent, more than competent. It was a very good, like Derek described, kind of third-person action RPG. It's very fun. What I played, and I'm probably gonna play it some more. Number 8 was High on Life. That reviewed, I think, in the 70s somewhere too. We talked about it some last week, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago. Whatever. We talked about it recently, and that game is silly. And from what I played, fun. I don't know that I'm gonna finish it though, even though I know it's not a super long game. I just think I get what that game is, and I like it.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily something that's super high on my list. Aiden Chronicles Rising is number 7 for me. That game is very easy and repetitive, but boy, was it charming. And I am excited for what that overall franchise is going to be. Tyrant's Blessing is basically Into the Breach, but fantasy version. So it is a strategy RPG that moves pretty quickly, and you kind of do a new run once you die. Frozenheim, I talked about that one already. That's number 5 for me. Tiny Tina's Wonderlands was number 4 for me. That's in the 7s, but that's a game that I know Kyle just had to step away, but I know Kyle liked that game. I think he finished it. I think that game is actually surprisingly good. I probably shouldn't have been as good as it was, but it was really fun from what I played. Probably about 3-4 hours into that game. And co-op was fun too. Played some of that with Kyle. Number 3 is a game that I don't know was going to get talked about at all this year in any other category, and that's Sniper Elite 5. I finished that game. even the title sounds like it should be a garbage like throwaway.
Yeah, like a mobile game or something.
Yes, Sniper Elite 5.
Yeah.
I've always thought this series has been kind of fun, but I think 5 actually kind of nailed their formula.
Yeah.
Really fun on the shooting, on the stealth.
I would agree that it's the best of what they've been trying to do with those games.
And I think it's at like a 78, maybe 79 on Metacritic, and I think it's deserving of that. Like that's the right score for that series.
Yeah.
The Quarry is number 2. I thought The Quarry was a lot of fun. It helped that we were all talking about The Quarry at the same time. So when we're having a discussion about a game, it makes me like it even more. And we did a spoiler cast of The Quarry. So I think that's why I liked it more than I might have otherwise. And then number 1 for me is Gotham Knights. That game has criminally under-reviewed.
Get it out of here. It's not a 7 out of 10 game. Get out of here.
It's like in the 60s on Metacritic.
Doesn't matter. Define it how you want to.
65.
Define it how you want to.
That is my favorite Swimming in Sevens game. And I've only just played that this week. I'm now like 5 hours into it, and I am loving that game.
One of us.
So those are my Swimming in Sevens. Dan, what about you? You got some Swimming in Sevens you've loved this year?
So I did just scroll through the list real quick just to see where they.
It can just be a top 3. I just did 10 because there's lots of those mid-level games that I really liked. You can do 3 or 5 or whatever you got.
So it was just on the cusp of hitting 80, but Metal Hellsinger is at 79. So I super love that game. Obviously, again, with music especially, it's going to be very subjective. So if you're just not into metal music, that's not going to click with you. But I mean, it's Doom plus metal music, and it plays really smooth. It's fantastic. I love it. I think it's great.
I like Doom and metal music. It sucks.
That's because you have terrible. It's your category, so I guess.
Wow.
This is personal picks, Derek. Jeez.
You're the
It was
professional.
Dan's turn on the mic, and you just couldn't help it.
That's fine. You're the professional of mediocrity. Then that's okay.
I just like to trigger that guy.
Anyways, The Quarry also very good. I actually forgot that was on here. I was trying to look for it. I was like, is that in the 70s? But yeah, The Quarry is super fun. That's fantastic. Diofield Chronicle, I don't think should be in the 70s at all. I think it should be much higher. That game does not get enough credit. I think it's fantastic. There's definitely more that can be built up on it, especially gameplay wise. But I think what's there is actually very, very good for a first outing. So, what else? Oh, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Again, despite the technical issues, which definitely I acknowledge, and I don't think it's okay. I think it's still just a really, at its core, really fun game. And I just finally got to explore an open world Pokemon game, and that's kind of what I've always wanted. So. Callisto Protocol, I think is still really fun. I was mentioning in our chat, like I think really just the boss fights need to be more varied, not just the same literal character model as the boss like 5-6 times. I think that's absurd. And then the balancing is just a problem. But other than that, I mean, just iron out the dodge mechanics, maybe make it easier when there's a group of enemies coming at you. But other than that, I still think it's really a really good first outing for that team to make a Dead Space like. I don't know.
They did a great job. I think hype actually hurt that game more than anything.
Probably. Also, it's super gorgeous, right? So you look at the game, people look at a game and they're like, "That's gorgeous. I want to play that," and then maybe they don't like to play. So, I don't know. Mutationum also fantastic. I think it's a visually beautiful and it's really fun and slick and plays great. Side-scrolling hack and slash game. I think. It's just the middle part's a little slow. I remember mentioning to you guys there's sort of like an underground area that like goes on for a bit too long. If they shortened that, to me it would have been like pretty much perfect. I think that game's fantastic. And then I'll mention, only because I don't think it should be in the 70s, it should be in the goddamn 40s, is Stranger in Paradise. That game can F off.
Oh, knock it the freak off. That game is so much fun to play.
I shouldn't exist except for the last hour. The last hour actually was decent. That game is offensive. Get the hell out of here.
Dude, a lot of people love that game, man.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's so crazy. I don't have any opinion. I've never played it, but well, your hate for it is what I wake up for.
It's really Jack.
I eat it up. I eat up that drama. Num.
Yeah, same.
No.
Jack ruins it. He ruins the whole thing. He's a douche.
It would probably make my top 10 if it didn't have like resolution issues on PC. So I ended up playing on Xbox, which was super ugly, and then later getting it on PC. And then I was like, well, I don't want to replay my 8 hours I already put in. But I would probably have it in my top 10. That's how much fun it was to actually play it. Story,
Derek, let's go to you then for Swimming in Sevens. Is that one that would be in one of your favorites for Swimming in Sevens?
Yeah, it definitely hits my
Stranger
list.
Paradise.
I would put top 10. I would do Evil West, we would do Star Oceans, and then we would go to Stranger to Paradise, As Dusk Falls, Steel Rising, which is objectively top 3 as well.
Objectively.
Overall for the whole year.
Wait, for the
Yeah.
year?
Yeah.
You guys are killing me this morning.
He must have missed the chat where I was making fun of Sean. Mesa.
Rise, brother.
There are people who have put Thymesia and Steel Rising in their top 5 of the year. And
Oh my
he's
God,
making
stop
fun of
it.
that. I'm serious.
Uh,
But go ahead.
I
Go ahead.
did.
Wait,
Did he
people
do that
did
too?
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
The
Go
same
ahead.
person
So-
did the,
I
okay.
did miss that. I did
Yes.
miss
Yeah,
that.
same person, and it's not me. Callisto Protocol would be my number 5. Asterigos is 4. The Diofield Chronicle is 3. Dying Light 2, Stay
Oh, good
Human
call,
is
Dying Light
2.
2.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that game. And then my number 1 Swimming in Sevens is none other than Gotham Knights.
Yeah. Same here.
There you go.
Good pick.
Yep. Kyle, what about you? What's your Swimming in Sevens faves?
So my Swimming in Sevens is Ghostwire Tokyo. I just really like the looks of that game. The next one will be High on Life. I got a lot of good laughs out of that one.
Forgot about this.
Midnight Fight would be next. And then Diofield, which I've really enjoyed alongside Derek and Dan. Also don't agree. I should probably be in the 80s somewhere. Tiny Tina, I thought that game was a lot of fun, very funny, good time to play. Pokemon, all the things that Dan said about it. The Quarry, all the things that Tim said about it. Saints Row, I absolutely love this game.
Saints Row, yeah, good call. Good call.
I don't know what
That
like
just
it's
that
Saints
just
Row
got
game.
left out of my top 10. I enjoyed it.
It's a Saints Row game, so
Yeah.
there it is.
Is it though, Kyle? Is it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Need for Speed Unbound. I put like about 10 hours in a Need for Speed the last like week. I'm really enjoying just customizing cars in that. And then Gotham Knights because it's like undisputedly the best top Swimming in Sevens game of the year.
Jeff, what about you? What's your Swimming in Seven faves?
I only chose 3, and under protest, I removed Gotham Knights because it is an 8 out of 10 game, and reviews got it wrong.
Under protest.
I
Are
agree.
you going to also start
Yeah.
like, do you want us to sign off on anything?
No. I'm just saying that Metacritic can F off. It's not
I think it's
7
on a
game.
69 right now.
Yeah,
Is
that's
that
such
it?
BS. though.
Nice.
That's
I
like-
thought it was like
Nice.
65, 66.
Nice.
Yeah, that's
I think
checked today.
69.
If it's a 69 though, nice.
Nice.
I think it's at 69 on one platform. Let me double check.
Just so you all know, 69
Six-
is
it's actually
at
obviously really
68.
that
It's at
fun.
68 on PS.
Damn
Nice.
it. That's not acceptable.
It's
then.
not nice.
So
if you were a
I
good
only-
teacher, you'd bump that kid up to a passing grade. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly. Which is 69, obviously. 69 is the lowest
Yeah.
grade that's passing,
Right.
as we
That's
all
right.
know. So my number 3 would be it's 5 out of 10 for gameplay, but like 8 out of 10 for story. So you combine that, you get a Swimming in Sevens, and that's As Dusk Falls for me. That was my number 3, and then number 2 felt very 7 out of 10 when I played it, and that's Solstice. It was a lot of fun though. But yeah, down the stretch, you sense it getting repetitive. And you sense that like the more stuff that you get like attack wise is not going to be varied enough to keep you invested in completing the game, because I think it's actually a longer experience. Number 1 is the most 7 out of 10 game that I've played this year, at least like the way that it feels and the way that it looks. It's Evil West. The game feels like a 360 game. Not in a negative way, like it feels like a 360 throwback where the action feels very simple, but very satisfying, and the story is just linear. Like, just go here. There's no real open areas. It's not like coming off of God of War Ragnarok and going to this. It was like, oh, there's no open areas. I don't really have to worry about like chests or whatever. There are chests. Don't get me wrong, and the way that he opens them are identical to the way Kratos does it.
Right
And the POV is very God of War inspired, but it's just such a fun throwback. Like sometimes it's nice to see a game just go simple, dude. Just go simple. Just make
I
it.
would have
shoot
liked it
things.
more if it had more gunplay and wasn't so much of a melee fight.
Yeah, because the melee
That's what
is
held
so
it back for me.
satisfying. Like with some of the stuff that they give you, like especially when you get to like repel your enemies towards you or whatever, and they're electrified and you just unload on them. Why would you do anything with guns after that? You know what I mean? It's just
I
so
know.
fun.
It's done. It's cool. It's just for me personally. I was looking forward to like shooting people with a shotgun and stuff like that. I wanted like a Gears of War type experience. But
and that's fair. Yeah, and they definitely played had the guns play second fiddle to everything else in the game pretty much. But
still overall.
But I still liked it. I enjoyed that aspect of it though. But yeah, those are my 3 swimming in sevens.
Nice. So
the only one that got their own personal list wrong was Dan with Metal Hell Singing. All right.
Absolutely not. But again, you're the king of mediocrity. You're the king. So
honestly, I started
this.
So my list.
Well, I still love the picture that Dan made. I think it was from last year of Derek swimming and literally swimming with sevens.
Literally,
just bobbing out of the ocean.
That was so good.
Yeah, that was really good. All right, I'm going to share my screen again. Well, this is our final ranking for this episode is best story. So make sure if you've got them, like maybe your short list of like games that you are like, I've got to have these on there. But
good, you switched it to alphabetical.
I did switch it to alphabetical.
Thank goodness.
Yes, because the Metacritic isn't always. I think that might help us for overall game of the year, but
but we could always just go back to that tab. Exactly.
Correct. Yeah, all games you can go back if you want to switch over to see the Metacritic score. You can do that. But best story, same format as before. If you're just listening, we have a column of games on the left. We're going to name off games we want to have considered for this shared top 10, and then we'll go from there. So let's just get started. Dan, I'm going to start with you this time. What's a game that you want to have considered for best story this year?
All right, well, easy to go down the list here. Plague Tale Requiem.
Yep. Kyle, what about you?
Babylon's Fall for sure.
Yeah.
No, can you keep going down? No, keep going down. Get out of here with that.
You had me for a second. I was like, what?
I like that you were gonna like just kind of play along too. That's fun.
Ghostwire, Gotham Knights,
Forbidden West for sure. Horizon.
There it is.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, Jeff. What about you?
A little game called God of War Ragnarok.
That's got a story, I guess.
Indie darling.
Yeah, really, really tiny, no budget.
Yeah.
Derek, are you still on here? You might have stepped away. I'm going to move Neon White over for the story.
Yep, that's in there for me.
Midnight
and Derek, whenever you're back, feel free to chime in with ones you want. Dan, what about you? Midnight Suns. I heard you, Kyle. Yep.
Yeah.
Beacon Pines.
I need to look this game. I know the name of it.
I played an hour of it, could not get into it. So
it's not enough because it's one of those choose your own adventure type of like books, right? But a video game. So like you have to like actually play for a good while.
I've played plenty of those. It's just the options you're giving me weren't that interesting. So
you have to hit a certain point.
We got to bring over As Dusk Falls for story, don't we, Derek?
Yeah. I would agree with that.
Me,
All right, let's see here. I didn't get far enough into Bayonetta 3. I gotta tell you though, the narrative isn't catching me like the second one did yet, and maybe it will later. So I'm not gonna fight for that one unless someone else wants to fight for Bayonetta 3.
I haven't played enough of it yet. I just haven't played it enough yet.
What about Modern Warfare 2's campaign?
It's really good, but I'd be really mad if we gave it top story of the year.
I'd be really mad.
I'd be pretty upset. I'd be upset on behalf of all gamers.
If I can get more through Chained Echoes, I think I would fight for that one, but I can't yet.
Me too. I really am mad I didn't play that game.
Can we at least move over Card Shark? Because the reason that you are scamming people that are like rich and in the government, I don't know, the way that it unfolds and stuff, it's actually really cool.
And from what I played in the demo, the setting, that the story setup is kind of interesting.
Yeah, they don't really get into it at all in the first chapter. Like in the second chapter, it's like, oh, by the way, here's what we're trying to find out about the king and stuff. And I'm like, oh.
I'm gonna bring over Aiden Chronicle Rising.
Dan, you played more of Ghostwire. I think you beat Ghostwire, right? Does that story like I like the opening of that game because I played like the first 4 or 5 hours of it. Like, is there a good story there, or is that more kind of like a mood? Like, is the game more?
There is the brother-sister dynamic is like because he's trying to do the whole, I don't want to obviously be too specific, but like by the time I got to the end, like when I got to the end, I was feeling a bit emotional, but it was like the very end.
Okay.
Everything in between was kind of like up and down.
Now let's move it to consideration. It sounds like it's interesting enough.
Might as well.
Games that I would like to have
Dying Light
over. One. No, I didn't care about that one.
Okay.
My number one is Xenoblade Chronicles 3.
Thank you. Absolutely.
And then this one
Number
might be
one?
the biggest surprise, but it's the one that
Okay.
I felt like the ending was really good that made the story even better, and that's Field Chronicle.
Yes.
I
You know,
thought the ending was a nice payoff.
Now that we're down here, I'm gonna move the quarry over as well.
I figured you guys would move that over.
What
How
about
do y'all
Tiny
feel about-
Tina's storyline there, Kyle?
I mean, it's more funny than like it's more like all the things are working in terms of it being a tabletop game and stuff like that. I don't know if I'd be like, well, that story was really good.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, that's fair. Symphony
What
of
do you
War
guys-
story is really good.
Should we consider the writing of a game though as part of the story? Like, because some of the,
it's all
the
about
writing
making
of the
a case, really.
The writing of the jokes in Tiny Tina's is, I would consider that part of the story, because where else can we praise that? Like
Yeah, I mean, and it is good. I don't know if it ultimately. You can move it over for consideration. I just don't know how much.
Might not make
it's kind of the same thing for me with High on Life. Is like, well, the humor and stuff is the story. Like, I mean,
But the story's kind of fun too. I kind of like the idea of like you're a bounty hunter, and I actually do kind of like the story in that game. So
yeah, it is pretty rad. Pentiment is literally story. That's story the game.
Bring it over.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I'm still at the beginning where you're like still in the church, like you're supposed to do your scribing stuff or whatever. I'm very early.
You haven't gotten to the first murder yet?
I didn't get to the day 3 like you wanted me to yet. But I still have it installed. I'm still planning on playing it some more. But it is very cool. I can tell it's gonna have it's got strong characters already, right?
Yeah, the story is just by Act 3, it's like, oh, I know who all these people are and where they live.
Gotta have Return to Monkey Island.
Why
for story,
haven't we brought over Splatoon 3 and
how dare you?
Saints Row.
Are you just choosing two random ones just to be?
He's like, those are the two S's.
What about the Sifu storyline?
Oh, I love the Sifu story. Yes, yeah.
I liked it too. Yeah,
it's a tale of revenge, right? So that's fun.
Yeah,
well, there's more to it than that. Like,
well, sure, but I mean,
when you do the second run and you give everybody mercy and stuff.
Of course.
Yeah, it's.
I will say that it's been done in the previous Sniper Elite games, but I do like the story of you being this scary sniper that everyone knows about on the other side of the war, and like when you show up, everyone's terrified of you. Like there's something about that. Yeah, there's something to that, but story, but it is good.
The only other one I had was, I actually, even though people crapped on it, I really like the story of Gotham Knights.
I did too.
I mean, I know some people had problems with some people had a problem with like the third act and where it ends up, the boss fights end up going and stuff, but
pretty ridiculous.
I liked all that.
I did too.
I thought Gotham Knights had a satisfying story. Nothing like amazing or anything.
Yeah, if it made the list, it'd be on the bottom. But
I didn't get far enough. The best intro hook of any game.
The intro's great.
Oh my god, dude! Yeah, that alone.
I don't think the ending exactly is amazing, but I don't think it killed it.
Stray should be over though.
Yes, okay. I agree. Stray story is worth putting over here.
All right.
Okay.
Sure. All right.
Sure. Okay, guys. Okay. Sure.
Man, there's a lot of anti-cat.
No, it's more of like an atmospheric type thing. I don't know. I don't really.
The robot obviously we've all done post-apocalyptic stuff.
It's already over. You already did your damage. It's already over. So.
I'm doing more damage. So the robots, no.
No, the Stray. I mean, we can. I know it's fun to crap on Stray because it got overly loved in the media.
Y'all
but it
really liked it though. I
was
was in the chat. You guys really liked it.
I know. It has a compelling little story that it tells.
Yeah,
and
I was there.
Emphasize that it is a little story. That
I can't speak to it because I haven't seen it, but I know how y'all reacted to it.
It's literally just like Homeward Bound. Like it's this little cat trying to get home. That's what it is.
Yeah. Maybe a little too simple is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, that's fair.
You're too simple.
Good one.
I am sometimes, honestly. Yeah.
I mean, speaking of simple, would be the Callisto Protocol. Like that is a very by the numbers story.
Worth putting over.
Yes.
For me, no.
I don't think so.
I love the game, but the story is.
I really feel like I could make a really good case for Trails from Zero, but I just haven't played enough of it yet. So it kind of runs into that chain that goes.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I'm gonna move this one over just for. Give it Legend of Tending a shout out.
Yeah,
it actually is a pretty cool little story.
Yeah, the way they paid homage to like the actual history of that story was really cool. Like, yeah, Tending that's cool.
Triangle Strategy, you said, Kyle.
It's got a good story, man. Yeah.
It's got a Game of Thrones vibe, just like DO.
Very Game of Thrones, all Game of Thrones vibe.
You know, Trek to Yomi, it was a very standard like revenge tale, but it was still good.
It was like kind of like the surface levels of Sifu before it goes into its second ending. Like very very revenge.
It
brings
just
in
a
some
little
supernatural elements, quite a bit.
Too derivative of what it's paying homage
You're right,
to.
very very derivative. That's true. All right, anything else that we want to bring over to consideration for story? As we look at this
Stranger
list here.
Apparent. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't even, bro.
Oh, so
I
you
wish-
could be
I
antagonistic
wish I
about
could,
Saints Row, whatever the other one was.
I wish I could say Return to Monkey Island is just, again, I just kind of like forgot about it after a week
what
after I
I
played it, you know?
You know what I wish we could bring over? New Tales from the Borderlands, but it's not good. So
Yeah, exactly.
we should be talking about how good that game is right now.
So
that should be winning this category.
For you guys that played it, Live Alive had some cool stories. Is that worth bringing over?
I didn't actually end up finishing that. I mean, it's an interesting concept, but I can't speak enough to it.
I wish this game had grabbed us enough for us to be able to speak on the story of immortality, because I think the story
probably good.
Yeah, I heard the story is like amazing. Like when you finally start to unlock everything that's happening.
I do like
incredible.
The concept of what they did with Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes. I didn't play it enough.
It's a Muso game, so the story is like inconsistent and weird, and there's no flow to the story because it's a Muso game. But fun game though.
Yeah, but some cool ties to Three Houses at least. I don't know if the actual story plays out well, but
it's kind of happening in a different parallel universe along the same story of the first games.
Oh, I will say, Blacktail at least has an interesting setup, but obviously the game is so new that we haven't really been able to see, does it follow through on that? Like we don't know. So it's at least got a good setup.
Yeah, I think it's got high 70s maybe on Metacritic. I think people do like the story, like the fairy tale that it's telling. I just don't know enough about it.
It's absolutely not going to make the top 10, but can we just to acknowledge Crisis Core? Zach's story is very important to the overall 7 universe or whatever you want to call it.
I don't know why it's eligible at all, honestly.
It's
the same story, right?
I don't count remakes personally. But, that's just my that's my personal list. I love that game, and I think that
I thought of it
awesome.
I thought of it as like the 7 remake, where it was enough of a remake, but maybe it's not.
If y'all want to put it in, I think it's got a great story. I
didn't play it
for it.
So.
It's the story is literally the same thing. Unless at the end they throw something extra, but
it would have been spoiled.
Final Fantasy
to all of us by
VII
now.
remake doesn't.
It would have been
the way Final Fantasy VII played, so that I could understand.
That's different. And Crisis Core, I feel like, at least what I've heard about it is that it's not different. It's more.
Just bring it over. Who freaking cares? It's one game. Bring it over. It's not going to win.
Crisis Core?
Yeah. Bring it over.
All right, guys. I'm arguing for it. It's going to win.
No, it's
y'all just signed your death warrant. Yeah. That's the one I want on the list. That's
hey Dan, you beat Anno Mutationum, right?
Yes.
So is the story worth shouting out at all, or is it?
There are interesting elements for sure, but I could not right now tell you what the story is.
I don't even know if I've even heard of it.
It's like a pixelated cyberpunky game. It's pretty cool, man. I really like the.
And it's like 2.5D or whatever.
2.5D.
It looks really cool the way that the environments move around. And
you basically can move back and forth between them. But
I forgot about Jack Move. Although I wouldn't move it over for a story. It was okay.
Jack Stay.
I think you would like the gameplay, Derek, of Anno Mutationum.
It's on sale.
I forgot about Somerville. That story is actually probably the only highlight of the game.
Want us to move it over?
Because it's just not a fun game to play, but the story is actually quite cool by the end of it.
I didn't play enough Sonic Frontiers, although I do think it's probably got a fun little Saturday morning cartoon storyline. I just haven't played it enough.
That's kind of what I got from the cutscenes that I saw. Yeah,
I'm gonna be starting that next.
This Anno game looks like it could actually be fun.
Yeah,
it's
the gameplay is fantastic.
They have a demo for it.
I like it too. Yeah.
Gameplay is fantastic.
Yeah, I'll do the demo. I could get it I have $5 in my.
I think
Steam
the demo
account.
stops short right before a boss fight or something like that. So you'll get through it really quick. It's like 45 minutes, an hour.
Yeah, so I could get.
But it's still good
for $10 if I want it.
It shows you how open, quote unquote, and I use that loosely.
It's
a cool.
I could get it for $5 if I didn't buy somebody Dragon Age again.
I don't know why.
Did you actually buy Dragon? Did you actually?
Yeah, I'm gonna buy him Dragon Age fucking
All right.
time it's released on a
Next
new
year
console.
it's on Game Boy
Commitment.
Advance. Here you go.
Commitment to the bit.
I have it so many places right now. So many places I have
Man.
Dragon Age.
It's not enough places, Tim. It's not
Oh,
enough.
we've got 25 right now
Cool.
on our consideration list.
Yeah, we'll
Sorry, it is
definitely-
Saturday morning in a house full of lots of,
Of
kids.
course
If
it
you
is.
hear
Yeah,
screaming in the
we get
background,
that.
then
Yeah.
it
They're
is
screaming for what? Crisis Core? Yeah, Tim, move Crisis Core.
Yeah,
Hey, I think I heard
Bill
them
created
say,
this monster. I just want you to know that.
I heard them say Neon
And
White
I'm gonna
stuff.
vote with him because we've made this rule that it counts. So I'm like, well, yeah, that game
oh
counts, man.
man.
Hey, I only said it could come over to appease him, and I said specifically, it's not gonna win. It's gonna lose. Who cares? Just bring it over.
Just anti-Jack, Zach agenda.
Actually, I'm because I didn't like I played Final Fantasy VII, but I never like beat it or anything on the PlayStation.
Mhm.
But I got really far into this game on the PSP. It was the only PSP game that I like played almost all the way to the end.
It was one of the best.
I
It was
actually
one of
really,
those
really liked
games
it.
that came out on the PSP that I was just like, I cannot believe we're playing games that look this
Right.
good.
Yeah, exactly.
The way we're reacting to the Steam Deck this year is how I felt about that game on PSP.
Same,
Yeah.
same,
This
and
is in
Vita
my
for that matter.
hands?
Yeah, both
Yeah.
of those systems.
Oh,
I was
yeah,
like, this
the
is out of
Vita.
this world.
Vita's awesome.
Exactly.
All right, so for best story, we've got a whole bunch of contenders. I think there's some that are like obviously in the top 10 somewhere that I
Yeah.
can move over. I'm going to start with
Definitely.
the Plague Tale Requiem, move that over here.
No, do not
gonna-
bring that over.
I'm going to bring God of War
Boy,
Ragnarok
yeah,
over.
Data Boy, and
I'm going to bring Horizon
Horizon.
over.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Those are the
I
obvious.
feel like
Xenoblade I'll bring over. That's an obvious.
yeah,
one.
you
Xenoblade.
gotta
I feel
bring
like
Xenoblade.
Midnight Suns is a little obvious too. I feel like they juggle all of those Marvel
So the
comic
characters are good. I don't know the
heroes.
overall narrative. I'll have to defer to you
That's
guys on
what's
that.
so weird is
Well,
I'm
here's the
hearing
thing,
more and
like-
more gamers saying the story's good, but every review I watched, and I watched a few, was trashing how bad the story was.
No,
I'm
the
like,
story's not bad
why
at
are
all.
gamers?
And you know, the most
completely different?
important,
It's
the,
comic
the
booky.
most important part of the story is the character work. Like, I mean, that's
Yeah.
part of the story is like the
Yeah.
stuff that you building those relationships, hearing their backstories and stuff like that. Like,
Even just
I feel
hearing
like
them
that
make
is part of the
references.
story.
Yeah, yeah. One, and I was telling you guys about how they take references from books, movies that don't exist in the MCU anymore. Everything, cartoons from the 90s.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like it's all in there. And just to juggle all that and just like that amount
Yeah.
of fanfare.
So like
and,
the
and-
main
and put it in a
overarching
context that
story
makes sense.
is very simple.
It's
Like,
it's comic
Yeah,
book. Like, there's an evil
that-
person. They're
most
evil, and they
movies
want to
and video
destroy the
games.
world. Yeah,
Yeah.
like, it's
And
just,
your
you
your
know.
character has a direct connection to them right out of the
Almost
gate.
Yeah,
every
exactly.
Yeah.
RPG that we play is about the end of the world because some enemy is trying to destroy the
right,
world
exactly.
or
yeah.
the universe.
Yeah.
So story is
templated,
always going to be
yeah.
about it's always going to be about characters and
Yeah,
do you
yeah.
like the characters? Do you like
Yeah.
their motives and all that stuff?
And that's
So-
the reason that I'm saying it's an obvious one to move over is because of the writing of all the stuff in
Okay.
between the overarching
You won't
story.
get any arguments from me. I just thought it was weird that I see more and more gamers
saw that
saying
too.
this is a great story,
There-
great story, and then
Well,
reviews
or,
were like,
There
yeah,
was
I see
actually,
a lot of like the dialogues cringe or whatever.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
well, it's a
yeah,
bunch
yeah.
of teens talking. Like that's how kids talk,
I
guys.
see,
You
I
know,
see a lot of I hated the Abby stuff, and I'm like, that's more than 60% of the game. Are you kidding me?
It's, I would
Oh.
argue it's 80% of the game.
Yeah, it's like,
Okay.
I like the
So much of
walking
the
around
game.
talking to people.
yeah,
It's their Normandy. That's what
Yeah,
that is.
exactly. And I
Okay.
feel like that
Yeah.
stuff is part
So
of
it makes
the story.
more
Yeah.
sense now because Saints Row. I'm not saying Saints Row is the same game, guys, but Saints Row got bashed because they didn't like the characters. They didn't like
Yeah.
the teeny part of it, like the young
The
generation. Like,
hipster, like
Yeah.
yeah.
So Dan,
language.
tell me about Beacon Pines. Is that one you would want to push for to be on this top 10
I
list?
mean, I would, but if I was picking between that and say Dio Field, I would pick Dio Field.
Oh,
so-
okay. Well,
Boom,
tell me
I'm,
about.
I'm on the
think-
Dio Field.
I think
bandwagon
Dio Field
with
has
you.
a better shot at making it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I'll
legit
even
think
throw-
Beacon
I'll throw a
Pines-
vote in for Dio
I-
Field. Yeah.
I'll move it up.
I
Can we
legit
get
think
As Dust Falls too?
The Quarry
Yeah.
for sure. I feel like the Quarry's like a for sure.
So
Is
Yeah,
it?
you guys really like that, so that has to go over. As Dust Fall, I think it's one of the best stories of the year, especially
Yeah.
the
What do you think?
choices.
I would agree with that.
I would
Bring it
I
over.
would give it a try again, Jeff. I would push through the hour and get to the point where like some pretty dark shit starts to happen.
Dan, you played
Yeah,
as
because
Dust Falls,
I
right?
didn't.
No.
It was just Derek and I, and we both loved the story. I think
We did a spoiler cast that the rest of our crew did not support and give us views.
I literally made a
Both
thumbnail.
Jeff and I
How's that
had
not supporting?
secret chat where we bash you guys every day because we're like, these assholes didn't even watch our.
Good.
Okay.
What?
I'm never making.
I never
thumbnail
played the
for you.
game. I'm not going to spoil it for myself.
Next time you do a spoiler
No, I
cast,
just like
tell you
your
to make your own
reaction.
thumbnail.
Good.
I'm going to tell you to make your own
Good.
thumbnail.
I will say that
I'd like to
will
bring
say
Neon
that-
White over. Listen,
All right.
the Neon White story is
No.
it's very
Yes,
anime,
yes,
but it
there's
is
a
very
great story. Yes,
it's
I'm
very
pro-anime.
good.
I'm pro anime.
Yeah.
I'm pro
It's
anime.
it's anime, but it's like self-aware of all the tropes in
Yes,
anime, and it's like
yes.
calling itself out all the time. And
I can already tell that already in the first hour.
Yeah, like you can tell from Yellow specifically, his dialogue is so cringe, but it's very aware of how cringe it is. Like
Yes.
But it's
White
also
will
not
call him
played.
out.
It's
Like,
also not played out to be. I thought it might just be a parody, like comedy, like very
Yeah.
tongue in cheek, but it's not. Like they actually have a legit storyline with characters, and things happen, and by the end, you're
Yeah.
kind of like, wow, that was.
It's
I
really
actually
cool.
cared
It's a
about these
really cool
characters.
story, yeah. And then and it also kind of forces you to do the side quest stuff so you can see the memories, because seeing that stuff is actually there's some really good character moments in there.
Can I just
I'm
throw
very
out there,
surprised at the story.
People shit on the typical cliche, like, oh, the character has amnesia, and I'm like, you know what? If it works and the elements around that are interesting and interesting things are happening, who gives a shit? Like,
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be honest. I think amnesia is one of the greatest storytelling devices ever.
Yeah.
Seriously, if you're trying
And
to
this one-
explain a world
and-
to the
Yeah.
audience,
And
Yep,
when
yep.
they
make your main
explain,
character a dummy,
like,
and then
yeah, exactly. It's
now there's a
Make him a
reason to
dummy.
explain
But
the world to some.
Not only
somebody,
that,
yeah.
you like
It's the
eventually,
way of-
eventually the story has to explain why does he have amnesia, and the way that they explained it is so cool. Like
Yeah.
it's actually kind of I don't know. They
Are
dealt
you
with it
talking
super
about
well.
Neon White?
Neon White.
Amnesia?
yeah.
Did you guys recognize the voice actor, by the way, for White?
I
I had to
It's
look him up.
Not for white.
Yeah,
If he ain't white, he ain't right. That's all I know.
God damn.
It's
Spike
Spike.
Spiegel.
Yeah,
Spike.
from Cowboy Bebop. Yeah,
Spike.
Oh,
Spiegel?
okay.
yeah.
Dude,
Yeah,
this
that-
is going to be a hard category because we're definitely more passionate about this, and there's
Yeah.
some games that haven't moved over that I know
Dude.
you.
Like Pentiment is my number 3, and I'm not even going to make an argument because it'd be wasted. It'd be
problem-
so wasted.
Here's the thing: is like a game
You
like
could still
Pentiment,
bring it over.
we could
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it might just not
Because
make
because
cut.
a lot of your darlings are shared darlings. So if you have one you want to fight for, I would
Nah,
probably make your claim now.
I'd rather fight for a different darling later on.
Okay.
Let's just say that.
The only thing I
There's
would say
nothing left
is-
that I would really push for personally. Like I like some of these other stories a lot. Symphony of War, Legend of Ending, good
See,
stories.
I
That
would fight
but
for Triangle Strategy if I played it more because I know it's up my alley. But
I know I'd really be fighting for it too if I had like 30 hours into it, but I
because
don't.
it is a Game of Thrones strategy game, and that's if you look at my year this year of what I've been playing. In fact, even Baldur's
Yeah.
Gate, like going crazy over it's strategy. Like I'm going
Yeah.
crazy over strategy games.
well, the same way that Jeff feels about Pentiment. Dan, are you also feeling that about Beacon Pines? Like it's worth.
See,
trying
that's
to-
why I don't want to move
Yes.
Pentiment over. Is because like
So that's
then-
great.
That's the
We,
thing.
we might squeeze a
to-
couple off at the.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
but what I was gonna
But
say
we're not
is
at 10
this,
yet, so
There we
This
are.
is different. Like the other category, if
Past it.
we didn't play it, yeah, you could explain your experience, but I don't give a shit. But if you can tell me that a story's good, that a game I didn't play, and then you can kind of outline the story without spoiling it, you
Mhm.
can convince me to
Same
go,
here.
well, I'll
Yeah.
vote for that game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
same
same.
here.
So this
and then
category is completely different. Just
the-
bring
the
over
one-
stuff that's really good.
the one that I am wondering, actually, there's two. There's Gotham Knights and Sifu are the two that I'm wondering if they're top 10 contenders.
They're both in my 10, but like they're both
Not the nice, yeah.
they're both literally 9 and 10. So
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't care. if they're over
Sifu,
there
I
or
could
not.
I could give Gotham Knight, like I would fight for, but we already have 10 or 11 sitting there, so like I
Yeah.
don't know how much
Well,
fight I
I
have in
think
me.
something like Gotham Knights, I'm so early in it. Like I know the setup of the story. The opening I thought was one of the most compelling
Opening is-
intros to a
yes.
game in a long time.
Man, it's been
Yeah.
a long time since I had
I
a
think
hook
you
that
should
strong.
bring it over. The ending isn't amazing, but it doesn't run it.
I've also
just
done
predictable.
And
two
I
of
like the ending,
individual
you know,
stories
Yeah.
where they just go
I
to
don't
a
love
spot.
it, but I think I was like, okay.
Two of the individuals, you go to a spot and have these cut scenes where they talk about, like,
Yeah.
it's very character development-y. I was like, man, this is
Yeah.
really well done.
Much like the Abbey stuff.
Well,
like
you're
in Marvel,
playing
like
it at the
you go back
perfect
and have your
time.
conversations.
Because you're playing it after it got shitted on, so your expectations are super low, and that
Yeah,
makes the
they are.
game better.
Yeah,
Hence,
good.
the reason
very
I
good.
said that I think Callisto Protocol is a better game than what the reviews say is because I think hype level was way too high for that game.
Yeah,
Wait.
I do too.
Probably true.
I think people talk themselves into something.
Dan, do you want Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII over? I wouldn't
No,
fight against
again,
it.
It's just we're getting ridiculous now.
Story wise, again, it's a carbon copy. Because again, it's not like a remake like Final Fantasy VII remake where
Which
you know,
was
without,
essentially new.
yeah, without being too spoilery, it's not exactly so.
Yep,
I'm
with you.
fine with everything that's over. There's nothing on the left that besides Triangle Strategy, but again, I can't fight for that.
I mean,
can't even
I would
tell you what it is.
I would genuinely say Stray because I legitimately like the world and the concept of it. Like you're not playing a human; you're literally just this cat, and you're in this world, this post-apocalyptic world where humans are gone and it's just robots, and it's just an interesting setting. But like,
what about
Did anyone
the
else finish
story
that
though?
game?
Could you sell me on the story or
Jeff,
just
did you
the
finish
setting?
that game?
No.
I mean, the setting to me and story kind of do go hand in hand. It's
Yeah,
the
it's
world kind of
it's
telling you
world
the
building,
story.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the
It's-
world.
I mean, the
building
story
of
is
it.
very simply you're in a family
But
of
it is
cats
simple, yeah.
and you fall and now you have to get back home and you have these like AI robots that you kind of learn what happened to them, and then the city you kind of learn what happened there. I think it is a very simple but well told story personally. Like I think it's on my list.
Yeah.
Let me double check.
I just don't know
it.
if it. I don't know if it's like because what I'm like trying to specify is like
At 9 for me.
Is it like story that I'm trying to praise, or is it just more the world and
Then bring it
everything?
over.
It's like Jeff said with
got it
sometimes
on your
writing.
top
I think it's
page.
all the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we just not going to make cuts then? Is that what's going to happen?
No, these
We're gonna have a
are
top
going
13,
into
guys.
cuts.
Yeah, no, we're gonna cut from here.
So
I think
yeah.
we're
based
just doing
on
our final round here.
Yeah, it's okay to have honorable mentions.
it
and
does
stuff.
sound like we've got a really solid like top 4 and then maybe like a middle section and then a couple
Yeah.
at the bottom.
And
So
Yeah,
let
the
me
top
let's
four,
cut it
the
up.
four that
Let's
you
cut it
have
up.
there.
So these top
are the
4
ones that will
feel
be in the
like
four, yeah.
this is not
Let's
the
cut-
order, right? This is just like these seemed like the obvious top 4.
Definitely.
I felt
I will
like
fight to the death for
honestly, I
Xenoblade
feel like
Chronicles.
these are the middle, and then
Derek,
these
I'll
are
die with you,
Fight.
man. Let's do it.
Yeah.
that's kind of how I feel like it sounded. Maybe Gotham Knights could be up in this middle section too, but
I don't have an issue with how you cut that. I think
that that's a good cut. Yeah.
it's a good cut.
okay, so let's start in the middle actually. So with this middle section, out of all of these, gosh, my problem is I've only really finished 2 of these games, the Quarry and Neon White. I'd have the Quarry at the top personally out of these 5. I'm sorry, not Quarry, but Neon White at the top.
I'd have Neon White at the above all that.
I have Neon White and the Quarry
okay.
kind of. Yeah. So I would have these 2 at the top of this section, not necessarily in order here. I'm just kind of moving them to the top of the section.
Right.
I haven't played enough of this one. It feels very much like very intriguing, and I like it. I just don't know enough about
it.
The
Quarry story is actually quite very simple. So like I don't know. I think having it last makes the most sense, but
I think it's more that it's a fun story, but I don't know if it's like
fun.
I like all the
right?
homages and like the love language to horror movies and stuff like that. Like I feel like there's a lot going on in that.
Well, there's something with the branching storylines too. How different your experience can be. It's very different.
Sure.
See,
to me, that's
I feel like As
the
Dusk Falls does
Quarry
that better,
and
though.
As Dusk Falls are very similar. I think As Dusk Falls does it way better. Like
I agree. Actually,
I went and watched YouTube videos of the differences and choices you make, and they're very drastic.
Dude,
So you might do something like that. You and I had
completely different results.
Yeah. When we did our
for
spoiler,
you died in like Act 2. For me, they lived the entire game, and that's just crazy. Like,
I'm gonna say something. I want to know Dan and Derek's reaction to this. I think Diofield's better than all of these games.
Yes,
story-wise.
Yes.
Give me the elevator.
I haven't
spoiler-free pitch on Diofield Chronicle.
I haven't finished like Neon White, so it'd be like kind of probably a toss.
Same, yeah. Neon White could totally win me over in another hour or 2, but like just where I'm at right now,
give
Diofield.
Give me the elevator pitch, the spoiler-free pitch on this one.
It's just again, it's
Game of Thrones.
It's always the typical Game of Thrones, but it's the intrigue of like this island. It's literally just this island that's kind of like this in between spot of like these 2 huge empires that are warring with one another. But they're like, oh shit! But that Diofield Island has this resource that's used for magic. which, you know, we're in a war. We want more soldiers and people using magic. So we're going to go over there and start some shit with them.
But both sides of the war want that. So it's like now suddenly
Yeah.
like two sides of the war, it's focused on one third party.
And
Yeah.
And
Which is
it's just a
small-
lot of
Not-
intrigue and spies.
not
and,
everybody is who you think they are.
Yeah.
Some people are, like, they make it so obvious they're not
Yeah,
good,
yeah.
and they actually end up not being good. But that's why I said I like the ending. Is the ending, the payoff? I was like, holy
I wasn't
shit!
expecting
Like,
that,
they
yeah.
literally left me on a cliffhanger. Yet they give you a true ending, but they leave you on a cliffhanger that makes you go, "Oh man, this is really, really good." So, in my opinion, again, I haven't beat all these games. Like Neo and White, I haven't played. As Dustfall and The Quarry, I have. And Marvel's Midnight, I'm not far enough in. I'm in agreement with Kyle that Diofield is my top mid-tier story game. Like, that's my favorite.
Sounds intriguing.
story.
Like the story sounds like it's really cool. So I like a
Sounds
good
alright.
twist. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
there's
it's
just a lot of
like Midnight Suns, where you have a hub area where you just go around and talk to each
Yeah.
other. So you
Yeah,
can
yeah,
build
yeah.
relationships.
a
You can
lot
get
of
to
that
know
this
these
year,
characters.
really.
It sounds like
I-
Diofield and Neon are at the top of this group then.
Yeah,
you
Neon
guys,
sounds way more creative after having heard that, but it's okay. We're majority is ruling.
It probably,
Well-
it
Well,
probably
I
is.
don't know
it
anything
probably
about
is.
Neon White. Nobody sold me on this story. Why is Neo White, besides
Well,
his
I
being
just
fun to
can't-
play?
I don't, I know we mentioned the amnesia trope of it, and there are more anime tropes that they lean into, but the setting of it being like in heaven and like heaven has been
Anti-Christian, don't like
heaven
it.
has totally changed in the scope of the story in the world or whatever, to where like some of the angels and stuff look like cats and stuff, and like there's this group of believers that took over heaven and a
These
hostile
Celestials
takeover
or whatever they're called.
yeah, and there's something shady about them that you can't put your finger on, but then you discover that something happened with the believers and God, and
So
that's
the
why
neons
Also
are
trying to
basically
earn your way
the
into heaven, right?
neons they are characters who have to wear these masks because they're brought up from hell to
yeah.
help fight off these demonic monsters that are invading or that are whatever. They need to get
Yeah.
rid of them.
There are
So
too
you're
many
brought up and you
demons
have
and
these
layers of
explosive
heaven.
masks on. So and if you remove it or if you don't obey, they could blow you up at any point and you're dead.
Yep.
Like you're gone.
So heaven gets help from hell to
Heaven has pulled up
there's-
these souls that are kind of like lost in purgatory or in hell
Yeah.
or something.
Okay.
They've pulled them up to now fight for them, but they treat them like crap. And
Yeah, they do.
And
Well,
there's
aren't they dangling the carrot of like, oh, if like you help
Yeah,
us,
maybe
yeah,
you
they-
could
they-
stay or you could experience some of these heavenly
You can
pleasures or
experience
whatever.
the salvation if you get to number one as the
Yes.
number
Okay.
one neon ranking or whatever.
it sounds
it's like-
interesting.
And
but,
there's like
yeah.
a lot, man. There's just so
I'm
much
more-
layers.
But
to
you
it.
you
And then,
mentioned like some kind of changes and twists. This does have some of that too. It's
Yeah,
got some of
yeah.
that like
So many.
oh, there's that's
Okay.
that moment. And
yeah.
so there is some of that. And then you find I think there's eventually kind of like here's the ultimate force we're fighting against. And then there's also backstory that
Yeah,
some
the
stories do
backstory
a
stuff
good
is
job of
super
filling it in.
interesting. Like
Yeah.
I was like, man, I kind
How
of wanted
long-
a full game of the backstory. Like that
How
sounds
long
really
is
cool.
the game, like in general?
Depends on how much you replay levels.
10 to 12 for all the main missions,
yeah. Yeah.
probably.
Like, yeah, if you were just to go like straight through, so does it have like cutscenes and stuff, or is
Yeah.
it just like talking?
Yeah,
head?
yeah.
It's like
and
comic
there's-
booky.
It's
comic
right,
book-
so-
And I would say like half of it is voice acted, but like there are some scenes that's just text based, kind of like a
Well, that's how
standard
Dio
It's
JRPG
just like
does it
Dio
stuff.
too.
Field.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Dio
yeah.
doesn't
Dio
have
Field does it
cutscenes
too.
either. They're
There's
talking.
actually a lot of similarities, to be
There's a
honest.
lot.
Because
And
like,
actually, they
Yeah.
do sound quite similar. It's just
Dio,
Neon White. The setting of Neon White to me
Yeah.
is just it sounds a little more creative, and I know that's like
No, it is
subjective.
more
Subjective,
creative.
yeah, yeah.
I would say Dio Field is like very similar to even some of these games like Triangle Strategy and stuff like that,
Yeah.
as far as setting and like story. But I just feel like again, I played it from beginning to end, and
Yeah.
I loved the gameplay. Dio Field Chronicle was the best story of these middle ones.
And-
I was
and-
just trying to get a vibe for is
and
Neon
there
White
is
something I would want to even
there
try to
is
play.
actually like a reward story wise if you choose to pursue all the side quests and get all your memories. Then you have a second option at the main ending.
oh,
And
interesting.
it changes the ending completely, and it's
Let me
actually
see
kinda
how
cool.
much it is at CD Keys, because if it's super cheap right now, I might just buy it just
That's
so
where
I
I'd
can try
net
the
it.
story.
And
That's where I
Kyle,
stand
you
it.
had Dio Field over Quarry, correct? And so did you, Dan?
Over the court, yeah.
Yeah. And
I had the Corey at the top, but that's just
you have Quarry over Dio Field?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where I'm curious about Quarry and As Dusk Falls. I wonder if Corey should go just above it, just because there's more support for it. There's only 2 who have played and like As Dusk Falls. I think
Well,
all
it's
of us.
kind of like with Diofield, right? Like, so that's got to be above Neon White because more people have voiced the
That's what it
stories.
feels like.
Yeah. I think
All right,
respecting the
boys,
majority makes sense.
I'm gonna buy Neon White now. It's $12. There's no reason.
Ooh.
That's a good price.
That's
It's
a
good,
really
man.
good price for that
I
game.
didn't like it when I first played it. I circled back around to it with like a little bit of a reframe of mind of what it's supposed to be and how to approach it.
Yeah.
And I'm really enjoying it now.
And you know what's funny? Like that
I love
game
that.
has no business having a great story because it's really just a super fun arcadey parkour game. Like it's really fast paced and like you
Hearts.
feel
Yeah.
awesome. And like by the way, the game does really make you feel like a god later in the game as you're flying through all these
Dude,
different
when you
levels.
get that OP card, and the character even says it, man,
Yes.
this card is super OP.
Yes.
Where you're literally teleporting to the enemy.
Yes, it's amazing.
Like it's incredible.
So the gameplay itself should be all that this game is, but it just does happen to have a very compelling.
Yeah,
Well,
I was very surprised.
I'll give it a
at the
shot.
narrative.
I mean, I'm more in the mood for what I'm playing now, Baldur's Gates, but I will definitely be fair about like trying it. And $12 isn't bad.
It's
No, $12 is
$1
actually
an
really
and
hour.
again,
good.
like I was mentioning, these seem very similar, Derek. Each like sort of round or match or whatever is super short, much like Diofield.
Yeah.
Like it's like a
Yeah.
few minutes, or in this case, a few seconds, really.
Yeah, sometimes 30 seconds. Some of the levels get up
Yeah.
into the 4 and 5 minute range later.
Okay.
Well,
They get
That's
longer.
the problem with our society, and that's why I feel like Kyle should get like on his front porch and start telling us how we just need everything to happen immediately, and everything
This is
needs
America.
to be shorter.
I want to know.
All
So
you kids don't know how to wait anymore.
I feel good based on this little group here. I feel good with Diofield being at the top of this group based on what you guys are saying about it, and the fact that there's 3 of you that you all finished the game, right? And love
I
it.
didn't finish it, but like I have every
Okay.
intention to.
But
And
you've
I'm
played it
like
enough to-
I'm deep into chapter 3, which I think is
Let
like
me
halfway through
let
the
me
game.
ask you this, Kyle. Like hearing Dan and I love the ending and the twist. Does it
Well,
like
that pushes.
inspire
Oh yeah,
you
yeah.
to-
It's pop. I wish I would have bought it on the deck now that I think about it, but like it's really popped my interest in
Yeah.
getting back to it, like prioritizing it over other things. Right
And
now,
the reason
so.
I'm putting Neon White above the Quarry is simply just because those of us who have played Neon White, I just think it's a much better story narrative than the Quarry is. Although
Yeah.
the Quarry, I give a
Yeah.
lot of credit for having really cool storylines, compelling characters. It's well acted. Some of the animations are a little funky, but that's not what we're talking about. We're not
It's
talking
the
about
teeth.
visuals.
It's always the lips and the
It's
teeth.
the teeth and the
Yeah.
lips are a little weird.
That
But
developer
we're not-
just has the worst problem with that. I don't know what it is. Like all their
Okay,
games do
guys,
that.
figure it out. You know,
Yeah, figure out the teeth.
God of War Ragnarok
Get
makes
it-
you look like chumps when they do it. I
Yeah,
don't
get
understand.
a teeth team and then bring it back.
Get a teeth
Get a
team.
teeth
Wrong
team.
and like
developer.
when girls are like upset, they're like,
Yeah.
it's just
Can
I
I,
don't get it.
can
Yeah,
I ask
don't-
you a question? Like, I know we just threw it up top, but did any of you, and I might be the only one that's off, did y'all really like Horizon Forbidden West story? I didn't
I liked
love
it.
it.
Yes.
That's,
Yeah.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I like the
you
characters.
feel
a
like
lot.
it's
Yeah.
a top 4
Now,
game.
I
Do I
was
think-
annoyed by a lot of stuff, which is why it's not going to be like at
Yeah.
the top of this 4. You know, like I was
I
really
actually have it
over
at
like
number
Aloy.
four.
I feel like it'll
rejecting
be.
help.
I feel like it'll be 4. Honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
4
same here.
sounds good. So 4 sounds good.
So
Okay,
the
I just
thing
wanted.
is
I
the-
didn't know if it needed to drop down to the mid tier.
If you just
Nah.
have the
Or-
main storyline, the problem with Horizon Forbidden West is that it's so broad with all the different
Yeah.
side stories,
Yeah.
and the world is so big. And that's not a problem, but like as far as like the strength of the narrative, is that I think the actual storyline, especially at the end, that final act is very
Yeah.
compelling and interesting,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
love the
here.
conclusion and the final fight. It was just
The cliffhanger
sometimes-
was so satisfying. I
sometimes
was like, I
legit
cannot
Yep.
wait for
forgot
what's
what I
next.
was doing because
Yep.
there was so much distracting me in that.
That's the
one.
problem
I
with
would play like
open world games, you know?
I would
play,
just
10
hate
hours
like
and forget what I was
because of
supposed
the
to do.
inconsistency of when you're supposed to do what missions in what order. There'd be times where like Aloy would learn a big lesson of like, wow, people can help me, you know, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
like the very next side mission, she'd be like, I don't need your help, and I'm like, this is
Yes.
so ridiculous.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
and that
And
bothered
that's-
me from start to finish. With
Same
that
here,
game,
man.
but, like,
I
yeah.
hated
here.
Aloy. I absolutely hated Aloy.
Well, there are
Yeah,
times when
hate
she was
women,
like
we can't.
real mean to someone for no reason, and then real nice to someone else. I'm like, I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. This
Um,
guy's a creep. Why are you being nice?
but
to
that's
him?
why
This
I would
guy
have
was
it
really
at
sweet. Why are you being
4.
mean to him?
I still think the characters were great. Katalo
Yeah.
alone was one of my favorite characters in
He's
all
great.
gaming this
Dude,
year.
that guy's fantastic.
Another
awesome.
game with a hub area where you talk to people in.
Yeah,
which,
great
again,
hub
I
area
really-
conversations. Yep.
Okay.
All
All right, so that one can stay up top, and I agree it should be 4. I just didn't know if we wanted to drop it to mid. But
So
no,
I
it sounds
actually
like
I've
you
been
guys like
spoiled
it
a bit on Xenoblade Chronicles 3. It doesn't make me want to play it any less, by the way. Sometimes a spoiler can ruin, but I feel like it makes me more interested in playing it now. The reason I have no problem with it being in our top 3 is because the story is, even from what I've been spoiled on so far, it's amazing. Like it's such a
Mhm.
good setup and setting and world and the things that happen, and I've only heard a few spoilers, not all of them. It's just like, dude, what a creative and kind of heart-wrenching at times story they've created there.
And
I'm a
their
big
ending to that game,
crybaby. I cried multiple times during this game.
Yeah,
Cry. I hard cry.
Yeah,
I can
That's-
honestly say I did not cry, but
For
Shocker.
I thought the
That didn't happen to
ending-
God of War Ragnarok, because that happened to me like 6 times.
We're not talking
Yeah.
about God of War Ragnarok right now. We're talking
Well,
about
I'm not gonna
Xenoblade.
and I'm not gonna spoil it, but the way they end this game is they give you like a good bad ending. Like it's like super emotional, like the
Ugh,
way it
yeah.
ends,
Yeah.
and you're going on such a long journey with these guys. So I would say it absolutely nails like you actually feeling something. Even somebody who, and I'm not even trying to be cool. I am even questioning in my life. Do I have any emotions anymore? Because I don't feel anything. But with that game, I actually felt connected to those characters that the way it ended up playing out, I went, that was sad. That was objectively sad. So I think they really nailed that.
Well, and then to have 8
sounds
core
like it.
characters who you're really connected to, but then have the audacity to have like 40 side characters that are all infinitely interesting. It's just
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
how did they waste so much talent on like writing these amazing characters for one game?
I'm gonna
This is
Right.
tell you
10 games worth of cool characters.
Resources.
yeah, and the only thing I will say is that,
Resources.
and I 100% mean this. This isn't just hype talk to get you guys to think that this game's more amazing than it is. I am definitely doing a second playthrough of this.
Me
So
too.
not only did I beat this JRPG, which I normally don't finish JRPGs because they lose interest after about 10 to 20 hours. They get repetitive and annoying. This game has me so hooked that it's easily my number one JRPG of all time, and I will do a new
Nice.
game plus.
Nice.
And I love that it has a new game plus. And like Kyle said, you have all these other hero characters that you can bring in. I don't
didn't
even
get
have them all.
everybody. Yeah, same
I
here.
did
Like
not get everybody.
there
That's
must
the
be a
thing.
third that I didn't even
That have
see.
their
Yeah.
own stories.
Yeah.
They have their own missions. They
Their
have
own
all this
arcs,
content.
their own like
I'm
development.
gonna buy the
and-
Can you-
season pass as
Can
well.
you go back? Can you go back and actually, or is there a missable, like, is there a line that you cross where you
I
miss?
think that
like,
there's a rollback state. Do you remember what the end? Is it a rollback state where it rolls back to?
Yeah, like when
Like
you
before the
load up
boss
your
fight?
save, is it before the boss
Okay.
fight?
Yeah,
I
you
think
can
so.
save it all the time, but yes, there is a. I think when you
When you
hit
beat
that
the game, it
final
rolls
mission,
back before.
Okay,
like,
gotcha.
yeah.
yeah, I like
No,
when
you
they
guys
do
have-
that.
You guys
like
have made a
on my
good case
menu,
for
it
this
says,
throughout
do you want to do new game plus?
the year, and that's kind of I mentioned this before too. Like when we're on the podcast with each other week after week, you're kind of in some cases building a case for games for game of the year anyway, as you talk about stuff you love. And Xenoblade's
Yeah.
always been like, man, this game sounds amazing. And I've watched some other game of the year debates and discussions, or even just people celebrating games they love. And this one, the story that I've heard you guys talk about, it sounds very deserving of a spot up here. And so I've got
These type of games like is why I do podcasts. That's why I came to you, Tim, and I'm like, let's start a show where we just talk about games. Like I get excited about stuff like this, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is an example of like a game that I could just sit here and talk about it over and over. Just because there's just an excitement. I'm not saying it's the greatest game ever made. It's not. But for me, it feels that way. It hit everything perfectly. It came out at the perfect time. And I was shocked that it had such a good story, characters, the world. God, if I wish this game was not on the Switch. I wish it was
Yeah.
on my PC and I could
Yeah.
explore
Yeah.
that open world in 4K,
Same
8K,
with
whatever you
Pokemon.
want to play it in.
Runs
I
better
would
than Pokemon though. So.
Yeah.
It does. They
Looks
did
better,
a good
too.
job.
Yeah, that's why there's
Considering
no
how big
excuse.
it
No
is,
excuse.
Considering how big it
Yeah.
is, it runs.
It's still beautiful. There
very
were
well.
moments in the game where I stopped and go, "Look at this area! Wow!"
And the combat's way more.
I wish
frantic
it were
than
in
Pokemon.
4K, but
Yeah,
look
it
at
is.
this
Yeah,
area.
Oh, the combat gets crazy, and
Yeah.
that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like Jeff's like, I'm not really feeling the combat. Of course you're not. In the beginning, it's not that great. It's as you
Yeah,
learn the
it's very simple and
systems
basic.
and you start to figure out what roles you're supposed to play. Plus, they kind of, in a way, force you to change your
You
roles because they're
have
like,
to change your classes.
yeah, you have to change the way you
It really,
play.
it's a game that really pulls you out of your comfort zone in terms of like,
These
I
games
just
are-
want a sword and I want to do damage, and it's
These
like,
games are complex.
no, you have to,
Yep.
you're gonna have to, be a buffer this, you
Well,
know,
three
this
games in,
area.
you know, they have to add, you know, new layers of stuff. I mean, and they did it
Yeah.
every time, right? They like
They did.
somehow iterated even and made it even better with
Yeah, I
each.
mean, I remember when 2 came out, people were like, "Oh, they did a lot of stuff like better than the first one." You know, there's always, I think
Yeah.
people still were like
So
1, maybe more than 2, but like there was always big jumps.
1 has the
of-
better story. 2 does a better job of like everything else. 3 is, in my opinion,
the culmination.
the perfection of nailing
Culmination.
story, character, gameplay, world. It has all of it.
You know, it's
That's
interesting
why
you talk
3 is the
about
best.
something checking all the boxes. I mean, that's kind of what Plague Tale's story did for me. And I know that some people, I've seen some conversations about it, and that's fine, that are like, oh, the first one's way better, just so much better. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I saw that same
You know, I'm
post.
a little out of the loop on like the word. Is that what how
And
people are
that's-
taking it? That
Yeah,
people
there's
hey, it's
more
all
people
just
that like
I
1
hadn't
more
heard
than
that.
2.
That's interesting.
Oh, okay, good. So Jeff's kind of in my boat.
that
then.
surprises
I'm
me
like, that's news
'cause
to me.
1 was one of my favorite games from that year, and it helps. I mentioned the surprise factor before. I wasn't expecting that game. I didn't know I would like it. I didn't know it would be that good.
Yeah.
All those things. So the surprise does help. This game didn't have the surprise. This game instead had a lot of expectation and hype put on it. So
It did, and
in
it
my
nailed
opinion,
it.
it had a
No,
much
kind of like God of War in a way.
it had
right?
exactly like God of War. I was actually going to use that. That's a good call. I was going to say that same thing. These games had a tougher hill to climb than their predecessors did, and I think both of them knocked it out of the park. We did a spoiler cast on Plague Tale Requiem. I could totally see us doing one on the God of War, by the way, here in the next couple weeks if you guys want to.
Why haven't we done it?
Do time probably.
I think we all.
Yes, please. I think we were
Just
all waiting
beat
to
it.
beat it. Yeah.
Yeah. But that being said, I think a Plague Tale checks pretty much every box that I want in a story. You've got really compelling characters, but not only good characters, but their interactions with each other feel very organic and real. And I loved it. They did what, and I keep comparing it to Naughty Dog because I get that same feeling that I did when I played a Naughty Dog game. I honestly got a lot of the same emotions that I got playing God of War, where these characters feel like they truly are living in this world together, experiencing stuff together, and I got very emotionally connected to most of the characters.
Yep.
Do I think God of War Ragnarok did it better? Yeah, I do. I think their characters and overall story was better. I just think A Plague Tale, just wanted to sing its praises. I think it's deserving, definitely of a top 4 spot. I think it belongs at number 2 overall on this list. I think it's
It wouldn't surprise me if that's where, because I think the majority of people played that game and enjoyed it.
because we'll talk about God of War Ragnarok in a second.
Yeah.
That's my favorite story of the year. I think it's got the best characters of the year. But I just
Same.
wanted to say that Plague Tale Requiem, I think, delivered what I wanted it to do and then some. I think it is just one of the best
See,
games.
for me, I'm not gonna be a tryhard and put Xenoblade above God of War. I think God of War Ragnarok has the best story. I would say it's like, I don't know. I always describe it as especially when you get to the end of the game, it feels like the end of like a Marvel movie where you're just like, dude, am I in the middle of this huge war? And they're able to nail some like personal moments.
You talking about God of War or
Everything-
Xenoblade?
I'm talking about God of War.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay. The
Yeah,
big
so
final
I'm saying
assault
God
mission,
of War
yeah.
is my number 1 story. I think it
Gotcha.
should be moved to 1. I don't think anybody's going to fight against that. The only place I would differ, and I know it's only me and Kyle that can say this, but Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is easily, without a doubt, not only a number 2, but like you would put God of War and Xenoblade way up here, and then I would drop your Plague's Tale, and then Horizon I would drop further.
I
and then,
obviously I agree with that, but at the end of the day, it's majority rules because we've ruled that way so many times on this particular theme. So that's where we end up going.
I will say this, just
you
for
know,
some
that's
context,
fine for sure.
Xenoblade, it has like a shoe-in spot in the top 3. I feel just as passionate about, believe it or not, Neon White as you guys do about Xenoblade, and that's sitting down here at 6, and that's just because
I
only a
feel
couple of us
just as
played it.
passionate about Xenoblade as you guys do about Xenoblade with Pentiment. I mean, that game is literally
And it's
stored.
not,
like
and it's floating down here.
yeah, exactly. And it's probably not.
So I
And
just
I'm
wanna
gonna
float
be
that out
and
there.
I'm gonna
It
be
does-
content with it getting cut. Like, I mean, it's just gonna be the way it goes. So
I
I've
don't
said my
think it'll
piece-
get
I've said
cut.
my
I don't
piece
think it'll
on
get
the
cut.
Plague
I think
Tale
it
theme.
should. I mean, if nobody else is gonna champion
But-
it. So.
Yeah, but that's the thing. You have to have a darling. Everyone's got a darling. You know what I mean? And
Oh, no.
that sounds like yours.
So Dan, what do you think about where we are sitting right now with some of these? You talked about Dealfield a little bit earlier. What about some of the top 4 stuff?
Ragamuffin definitely is number one. Absolutely.
Yeah, we should just move it to number one. It's not a surprise. I don't think
Yeah,
anybody's
okay.
gonna fight against that.
What else
And
do you think? What else are you thinking?
And obviously, there's the similarities as far as the deep relationship of two. You have a father and a son, and then you have a brother and sister. So you have those really deep connections there of those two primary individuals of the story. But yeah, like just for me, God of War, just and also probably with me,
The
with
brother
my,
and sister. Oh, are you talking about?
He was comparing Plague Tale.
yeah, I was just
Oh,
comparing
I
the
see. I was
relationship
like,
and the
okay.
levity of it, and to me, just God of War being stronger for me personally, but just
Yeah.
because of like my life and me not really. I don't talk to my dad. I don't care
I gotta
about my
be
dad,
honest.
so.
Like I'm
Um,
I'm allowing myself to be convinced by Derek and Kyle, and like what they described for Xenoblade.
I wouldn't be mad about
That
that.
has to be number two. Like it just has to be number two. Like
I wouldn't be
See,
mad
to
about
me,
Y'all, you would have to vote that way, but like you guys, if y'all like a
To
Plague
me,
Tale more,
if
like,
Yeah.
Daniel Freitas played Xenoblade Chronicles 3,
Oh,
he
yeah.
would be saying it's
but I would
one
say
or
the same thing
two.
with Tim too.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
I would
I
say
would.
the same
I
thing.
One or
would.
two.
Anybody who was willing to play it, and all 60 to 100 hours. Of
And
it.
that's why I said
Yeah,
this
that's the problem.
category.
Like I feel because like it is a journey, and like even playing the first 30 hours, like you're not gonna get the whole experience, and it's just
Oh. The twists don't start until like you're over halfway through the game. And then you're
it's
like,
really story driven. Like it's always
shit.
something's always happening, but like the big stuff, you're like, oh, like I'm talking mind shattering stuff.
Yeah,
happens
yeah.
in this game.
Yeah.
Like it's in my top favorite stories of all of gaming ever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So-
I would agree. I would agree.
But so is God of War. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like you're talking about two games that like somehow got into that
But
Mount Rushmore. of
this
best game
year
stories
really
ever, so.
sucked. There wasn't anything good that came out this year. So.
Yeah.
It's such
Two
a
of my
shame.
favorite games
Such a
ever
shame.
made came out this year. What a bad year.
Kyle, what's your
Honestly-
number one story for the whole year?
You really
God
want me to
of
answer
War.
that?
Yeah.
It's Xenoblade.
Derek, what's your number one story for the whole year?
I'm gonna give it to God of War, but
God of War
Xenoblade's
is better
just under it.
performed, and I think the
Yeah.
writing is better. But like,
But I think Xenoblade
yeah.
Chronicles 3 has the better like long story where I actually cared about everybody and what was happening to their lives
Okay.
because it's
Ragnarok
serious
has that
shit.
too for me, but I don't know.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And then Dan, what's your after Ragamuffin? What's your favorite story?
Ragamuffin.
Was it Dio Field was number 2 for you?
No, honestly, it would be. There were moments in Horizon because I know we're kind of like, oh, it's just number 4, but there were moments, and especially in the second
I
half
loved
of
it,
Horizon.
man. I loved
Dude.
it.
I liked
like,
it too.
I
I liked
was-
it a lot, man.
I was like, oh, damn! Like
There's a mission right before I think the last 2 missions or whatever where like something happens to a beloved character and I'm like, no, like I was so
Yes.
torn up about it.
No.
And the
Um,
way
but
that
also-
they did it was so good too. Like,
but also
even-
I was gonna say there's a character that pops up, and I again I don't want to be too specific. That Aloy kind of has she struggles to connect with this person, and the way that she talks to her is like Derek says,
Everybody.
Aloy talks is very aggressive. So, but like there's a point where you get to, and there's some options that when you speak to her right before I think it's the last mission, or maybe it's before that moment that you just mentioned, Jeff. But like she starts to turn a little bit. Like Aloy starts to kind of like be a little more.
She empathizes with her a little
She's
bit.
empathizing it with her
Yeah.
more, and then that character responds to that in a way that I just like it like hit me real hard. I was like, oh shit, okay, so now like this is coming together in a way where it's like now they're starting to understand each other more. And there was just something about the way that the dialogue, like
Yeah.
I really resonated with that. It was just like, oh, okay, like now they're starting to understand each other, and like there's an energy there.
Did you like Forbidden West story better than Plague's Tale? Because you played Plague's Tale, right?
You played
Yeah,
both,
no, I played them both. I finished them both.
Yeah.
I don't know. It would be, it's like practically a tie, to be honest.
Okay.
It's really
I know
close.
what you mean. I know what you
Yeah,
mean.
it's really close.
was Xenoblade 2 already?
Yeah, Xenoblade. I'm fine with Xeno. Honestly, I'm content with Xenoblade being in second place. I think
Because
that's.
I feel like just the way that Derek and Kyle have hyped it. I mean, I'm truly listening to it. Like, I mean,
Yeah. No, I agree.
it sounds like it deserves to be 2 with how much it's juggling. It's doing what Ragnarok did, but on a more epic scale.
Like if
Well,
I had
yeah, like a
time, I would
sci-fi,
like
you know.
get off
Yeah.
this podcast and go start my new game plus. Like if I
I'm
knew
talking
I could
about it.
I'm
invest
gonna do
in
it after this podcast.
They're talking about it.
Seriously, like just even thinking.
No,
about this
you
game,
need to finish Dio Field, but yes,
Okay,
I
yeah.
that's how like much I like love talking about that game. I have no problem saying I'm completely biased with that
No,
you
game.
and
I
I
agree.
should do a spoiler cast on that game.
There is-
Derek.
There is something
should.
about hearing other people talk about a story that can win you over compared to like gameplay elements. That's harder to win someone over on because you have to experience it. But story, it's easier. And that's why I was already pretty high on the story even coming into this conversation. But
well, even our chats in our group, like I play video games more than I watch shows. Like I watch sports, but I don't watch shows and TV. And I personally don't like stuff like that as much as you guys, but I'll listen to you. And if you're like, this show's really good, and we don't have the same taste, like that's usually why I'll come in and be like, that was shit, you guys are dumb. But I'll still listen to you and go and I'll go watch it. So to me, like, that's why I said this category is one where you can really inspire people to be like, hey, maybe I missed out. It'll give you FOMO and be like, maybe I missed out and maybe I should go play this. That's why I bought Neon White. Neon White, I had semi-interest because I thought the masks looked cool. I thought the characters looked cool. But when I saw the gameplay, I was like, no. But you guys sold me on at least giving the story a chance. Maybe I'll like the gameplay, but I'll at least push through a little bit more because you're telling me the story is good. If y'all would have said the story is nonsense, it's just a really fun game to play, I would have never bought it because I'm like, the gameplay looks dumb.
And it's got that Horizon effect where it's like, Horizon Forza, where it's like, damn it, Dan's got 2 seconds on me. You know what I mean? Yeah, like there's a little bit of a loop there. Which, by the way, guys, all of y'all are better at me.
I just want to throw out there that
even Derek, who hasn't played it yet, you're better.
I just want to throw out there.
Still will play Horizon 5 and get those alerts where it's like Tim has explored the map more than you. I'm like, dude, this better be his kids because I've played a ton of this game. And yet Tim's still beating me in most of like the records or whatever in that game.
I just want to throw out there, Tim and Jeff, that beginning area before you get to the main heaven area, I've beaten all of your scores.
I know. I'm the last person to play all those levels, and I know what the ranking is, and I will never get as good as any of you.
I will say this.
Yeah.
I was alone on
so
this
much
game.
better than me.
I was alone on this game all summer. This was my summer game, and
I
no
know.
one else was playing it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I didn't like do like scores. I had no one to compare scores against except for strangers.
Yeah.
So I was just trying to get like the gifts because the gifts
Sure.
that's what unlocks the special like side missions with your friends throughout the game. So you get the different colored gifts. So that's what I was trying to do. But now that you guys, I'm like, I better get back in there and brush up on my Neon White skills to try to.
I wouldn't even bother because some of those scores are not damned,
Ridiculous.
but like the leaderboard
yeah.
scores are just
Yeah,
so dumb.
They're
And you're
crazy.
like, okay, come on.
Have a
Like,
second.
It's
Finished it.
PC. They probably are cheating.
They're not.
probably-
Yeah, no,
Definitely
the people that have like 0 cheaters, obviously.
So
Cheaters.
are we good with these two being 3 and 4, Plague Tale and
I
Horizon?
personally
That's
think that's
where
how
I
it
am.
should be. Yes. Yeah.
And
Okay.
Horizon above Deofield and Neon White, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
For
yeah.
me,
I
Wait,
personally-
do you
No,
want to make
but-
a last like push? I mean, like for Neon White. You know
I'm
what I
fine
mean?
with exactly how that feels.
now you're talking about like being convinced that something that y'all haven't experienced yet like exists and it's good.
Yeah.
And like I don't have that with Neon White yet, and neither
You know,
does.
I don't want to oversell it.
Deofield's pretty cool though. Like I've been playing the
Deofield's
demo, and it's a cool game.
Listen,
dude.
I don't want to
yeah.
oversell the Neon White story. It's more of like, wow, this is a surprisingly good story for what this is. That's
Sure,
how I want it to sit. I want it to stay there. I don't want to oversell it. I don't want to pretend like it's this epic Xenoblade
Don't
level.
ruin my experience. But
No,
I don't
it's
want
not.
to.
Yeah, it's not on that. It's not on that.
It just
level at
tells
all.
a compelling story with cool characters. I have it just barely above Horizon Forbidden West, and that's only because the Horizon Forbidden West story is broken up so much by its vast open world. I think that just the main narrative is probably a little.
I would
need
agree with the
That's
story of
alien.
Forbidden West, like the broken part. I get that, but my main issue still goes back to I just felt like they write characters for the most part terribly. There's very few characters.
I don't even like dislike Aloy. I just dislike that one piece of her, like
Not even just Aloy. Like going back to
I mean there are some kind of
on our
boring characters.
podcast.
but
I
there's some
am
good
a
ones.
Horizon fanboy.
Sure.
Like that's my
Yeah.
favorite PlayStation IP. Yet the first game I hated almost every character. In fact, I think the only one I liked was Aloy and the black guy. I don't remember his name. The bad
Silence.
Silence. Yeah,
That
I
was
loved
cool.
him, and I still love him in the second one.
That
He's
was
just
pretty
to
great.
me the greatest villain, non-villain. You don't even know what the
But
hell he is.
again, another reason why that one goes down a few pegs is because you could go for a dozen hours or more not seeing and interacting with him because you don't, and then all of a sudden he's back and he's a key part of it. Like, oh yeah, this guy's still around. So
I
the
get that.
pacing can be so accidentally poor in that
But
game.
the first one had so many. I'm talking about Horizon.
Yeah.
The first one had so many, like, first of all, when you're playing that game, it's a new IP, so we don't know what's going on. For the most part, you don't know what's going on.
It's a
And
lot
you're
of
getting
world building
all
in
these,
that game.
A lot of world
yeah,
building.
so all the world building and the revelations that come out, especially mid-game and to the end, were like, this story's awesome. Like, I think it was one of my favorite stories that year that came out.
It was for me too, yeah.
For Forbidden West, I knew what was going on. I knew the history. I already know the world building. The stuff they added, I'm not going to spoil it, with certain like duplicate versions of people and stuff like that. I was like, no, I don't care about any of this. And I hate most of the characters. So for me, that's why I'm not going to say Diofield's better. I think A Plague's Tale is way better. Xenoblade's way better. God of War, way better. Like, all three of them destroy Horizon. Overall, it was kind of a letdown for me.
Okay. We put the Quarry over As Dusk Falls just out of the fact that more of us played it and liked it. Not saying that As Dusk Falls doesn't do things better. It's just that only had 2 supporters behind it. There's something about the conversation on the Quarry and the teen slasher element that's just fun. So I just thought it was
I think that Dusk Falls has a way better story and the outcomes are way better.
Yeah.
But I think the fun of the Quarry, and yes, this is part of the story. The fun of it is what happens to the characters, and you get to control what happens to the characters and how your story plays out.
It reminds me of like a bunch of me and my friends like in middle school reading like a choose your own adventure novel and coming to school the next day and like exchanging like, no, I actually went left at the corridor. You know, it's just like an exchanging our stories to each other. And that created like I don't know. Yeah, and I bet if more of us played as Dusk Falls, we'd all be, oh no, I let that guy die, or I let this happen, or whatever.
Yeah. The last 5 that we haven't talked about, there's 2 spots left for them, and so these are all, I think, worthy of being on there. It's just a matter of, can we get some kind of consensus on what belongs? We had Midnight Suns kind of sitting in that middle section, but we haven't talked about it much. That's why I just put it with this group of 5.
I think we should keep it with this 5, yeah.
Because I think each of these is Gotham Knights might have more support.
That's what I was gonna say. I think Pentiment should make it, not just to like hand Jeff like here's your free game. I agree with him. It's a story driven game. It's
Obsidian.
Reviews, yes, all the reviews
they're the
says
best in the biz
why
at creating stories.
So it's not something I'm personally interested in. Now, if he could sell me on the story, like giving me like, well, this is why you want to see how it out, maybe. But I don't mind it being like in the top 10. I think it comes down to, and I could be wrong, because I don't care about Beacon Pines or Stray. To me, it comes down to the last spot needs to be between Gotham Knights and Marvel's Midnight Suns, and we have to decide which one we like more. I think more of us beat Gotham Knights.
I would like vote Pentiment on in a big way just because of again it being Obsidian and it being a game all about story and it being heralded as one of the better games of the year.
Yeah, and not just about story, but like choices. Sometimes
the vote has to exist outside of us too. You know what I mean? Like where it's like this game.
Can you kill people in that game, Jeff? Like
not. I mean, you might.
People die, but not because of you, right?
Yeah, exactly. You might make a choice that, I don't know, impacts somebody adversely and eventually they die, but there's no like active like, oh, I got to stop this guy, they're killing this person or whatever, or I got to kill this person. There's none of that, but there are murders that happen like off screen, plural, because the first act has one and then the second act has one and the third act doesn't. It's kind of more like the third act does something very interesting and very unique and unexpected with the perspective and stuff like that. So I really don't want to spoil that. That part is
don't spoil it. But
it's a pleasant surprise.
I played about an hour of the beginning of it, and I can confirm it is so charmingly well written, and even the way they do it's all reading. So there's like basically no voicing going on whatsoever, at least as far as I can tell. There's no voice acting. Right. Yeah. But the way that the text boxes are being written out with this very satisfying like old school writing sound effect as it writes, and there's oftentimes like a typo or a word that changes and you can actually see it erase and then come back in. Like it's like someone's actually writing the story.
I didn't even notice that because I hit A just to get through the lines of dialogue so quickly.
Like for example, they were talking about something at the fair, but they spelled it FIAR, and then it got scribbled out, and then AI. Like they just switched it. So like little corrections are happening. Like to me, that's also part of the story. The way they're telling it like someone is actively writing and scribing.
Well, and it's also rooted, the story is rooted in a very real time period, and they talk about the church and Martin Luther and Lutherans and how that sprouted. This it's the beginning of the Martin Luther era,
anti-Christian
of church and stuff like that. No, it's more like anti-Catholic, really, if anything else.
I agree with that. Okay.
Yeah. See,
I'm playing this game tonight.
By the way, R.I.P. to the old Pope who, and by P I mean piss because he sucks.
Pee on him.
We got us a rabbit trail, folks.
The guy who retired from being Pope, which you can't do, but okay, whatever.
Oh, he was like the second Pope in history.
Yeah, he was the one who covered up all the abuse and stuff. Anyway,
there were some signatures.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, there were some signatures he made.
There were some signatures.
Yeah. So Pentiment is definitely about like the power structure and like in that time as well. That I've found was really fascinating through that so the story of just
without spoiling it, this would probably help me to show, because I played like 30 minutes of it to see if it's something I'd be interested in. Who is your character and what is he doing? Like, what's
Who's
the
your
point of
daddy
his,
and what does he do?
what's his existence for?
He's an artist.
He's a painter, or something like that, right? So he's
working on his masterpiece, but he's getting paid to scribe the outfits.
Yes, in this because the game takes place in a time where people that wrote and read were like gods to normies, because nobody really practiced that. You had to go to school for that, and so you would get paid to like write and draw. So that's what he got hired by the church to draw some things or whatever, to basically freelance for them. And along the way, somebody gets murdered that he briefly befriended, and he takes it upon himself as like a quote unquote objective party to try and solve it, because he doesn't really have ties to the church. They just hired him for a job, and he doesn't really know the townspeople.
So it's like a murder mystery.
What the Tom Hanks movies, like the Catholic Church hires him to Da Vinci Code.
Da Vinci Code, yeah.
He's not really Catholic, and they're like, we hired you because
he's kind of as objective a third party as you can get. But he does eventually, start befriending the people in the town as he revisits and stuff like that. Because
I'm in on this one being up here.
Act 2 has a time zone.
Yeah. This is why we give people platforms to like pitch it, because I'm totally sold on this whole thing.
That was not to have Jeff not convince me anymore. That was, I think I'm actually going to play the rest of this, and I don't want to know anything else that happens.
Dude.
I legitimately may buy this on the Steam Deck, so I play and beat this.
I don't think I want to hear anything else, mainly because you got me convinced it's one of the best stories of the year, and because I don't want to. I just want to experience it, because the rest of it.
Yeah,
I played the first hour and
I would be so.
Yeah, you got me hooked when you said I'm solving a murder mystery.
But it is a lot of reading.
There's a lot of reading,
and
there's after day one, there's a lot of time management. So you're given a plethora of options. Like, I can go to this person and talk. I can go talk to them and get more insight on this crime, or I can go talk to them. But if I do that, then I run out of time and I have to go to bed. You have to pick one or the other. Which avenue do you want to approach to get more information?
Using a guide for sure.
Right.
1,000% using a guide.
So I'm putting that at number 9 for now, and I think we're all in relative agreement on similar to something like Xenoblade or Neon White. When you get to a game like Pentiment, where it's obviously such a good story, even though we all haven't experienced it, I have no problem with that.
It's just a hard game, kind of like As Dusk Falls. It's very difficult to sell it to gamers that like to I just want to go up to the thing and do it. Kind of like me with turn-based games. It's kind of like me. So it's a hard sell.
I watched so many top 10 like list videos or whatever. GameSpot was like the last one that I watched, and like multiple people said exactly that about Pentiment, where it's like, I don't like these types of games, but like this game is really good and you should play it. And
I would say to Tim, who's, since he's in the middle of it, kind of, I would say get past Act 1 probably. I would say once you get past Act 1, then you'll know for sure. Okay, I want to keep doing this or not, because Act 1 has a definitive ending to it, and then Act 2 picks up. Like each act progresses in a totally unexpected way.
I will say this: there's a funny exchange between you and the nun behind the door at the library, and she's clearly being a little bit promiscuous towards you. Like, she's saying some things she's probably not supposed to as a nun. And then when
is she the younger one that just joined the convent?
I don't know. All you see is her eyes through like the library door as she's talking.
Oh yeah, I remember her now.
And then after that conversation, I kind of like didn't play along with her whatever advances. I just wanted my book. I acted all like I don't want to deal with this, and then she immediately like told on me to the other nun like he's hitting on me, like basically what she said. And I was like, I didn't say anything.
What a B word.
So it was a little exchange like that I was like, this was really well
That
crafted.
didn't happen for me. That's very
believe her.
interesting.
Believe
Believe her.
God damn
Believe
it.
all nuns.
God damn it.
Yeah.
I believe all nuns.
Should we entertain? I don't know.
There's 3 other games going against Beacon Pines, and the thing with Beacon Pines is aesthetically, like anthropomorphic characters are very off-putting to some people. So if you just don't like the visual style,
that could be part of what didn't grab me.
Yeah, and I mean, for me,
sadly for me, that's a big turnoff or whatever.
Okay,
Yeah.
so like I don't have I'm not like super into it, super not into it. To me, it's whatever. I could take it or leave it. But like the actual
what is
quality
Beacon
of the art
Pines?
is great. It's like a choose your own adventure game. But the way that they sort of
gameplay at all.
Well, no.
Yeah,
so you're basically, well, there is. So you're walking around
like Pentiment.
Yeah, you're walking around.
Yeah.
Pentiment.
Okay.
But like the way that you choose the sort of outcomes and stuff, it kind of like folds in on itself, where as you're playing through the game, you're finding these cards that basically give you new actions to sort of deviate down a different path at previous moments in the game. So like you'll get to a point where basically something happens and more or less your character dies, or just something really bad happened. And you're playing kids too, by the way. So that's why it's like really dark, because you're playing these it's almost like Goonies, but like it's darker because like there's death involved.
I'm not gonna lie, like, and this might surprise you guys, but looking at Beacon Pines, I'm like, dude, that looks like something I would want to play. Like the characters look cool.
art style
See,
is
I'm
really
actually
rad.
into that.
I like
So
the
maybe
quality
I'm,
of the style.
Maybe I'm more like what's our fan?
Gaston.
Gaston. Maybe I'm more like Gaston.
Yeah, the quality of the art is actually really, really good.
Yeah, it looks
like the
super
look of it.
cool.
We're all
but-
going to be playing Volcano High very shortly.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. We made fun of it, but then we're all gonna be like, game of the year. I mean, it's game of the year.
But yeah,
It's so moving.
I just like the twists. I like the twists and turns of that game. And again, I just wasn't expecting the element of like you're playing these anthropomorphic like kid characters, but like there are stakes and there are characters that like do really horrific things going on in this town. There's this outside company that comes in that's trying to help like revitalize the town because there was like this like chemical like explosion incident that happened years back. So then like they come in to kind of help clean up the mess and revitalize the town, but obviously it's not quite what it seems. There's still like some sort of shady like under thing going on, and again like the way that you're deviating down different paths of the story, because you get to a certain point, and much like those choose your own adventure games, when you get to a certain point that you weren't supposed to go down, it's like, well, the end, because your character died. So you have to go back around and be like, all right, so do I have another option? Did I find another card to then go down this other appropriate path that I'm supposed to go to? So and it's voice acted. And there's there's a narrator that's that's basically breaking everything down. It's actually kind of almost a little similar to that. What's that game, Jeff, that you played that was like a book?
The Lost Words Beyond the Page. I think that had just one person doing voiceover, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, but like it's got that book element where like
the vibes are very similar.
Yeah. The words are popping up on the book as the pages are flipping, and then it gives you like the cards will pop up on the screen, and then you're choosing between the cards to then go down that certain path.
It's like a Mad Lib, but you have to collect words in order to have more choices. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I was just really surprised by it. I genuinely liked the story. I liked the stakes and the twists and the surprises. And I thought the voice acting was
short too, so that's
it's not super long. Yeah,
I've heard that too. That's also a plus.
Like 5 to 6 hours long. So that's
my gut is telling me that what Derek said earlier is probably accurate. I feel like Beacon Pines and Stray are going to be kind of our final honorable mentions, and I say that as someone who finished Stray and I enjoyed it. I thought it was a nicely told story in a very unique game. But I think already what I've played of both Midnight Suns and Gotham Knights, both of them only like a chunky slice, right? Like 2-3 hours, maybe 5 hours of Gotham Knights. I can already tell you I'm much more compelled by those storylines than I was by Stray. And that's not to discount what you just said about Beacon Pines. It sounds like it's interesting. It really does. But so that's why I'm feeling like Gotham Knights or Marvel Midnight Suns is in that 10th spot. The rest of these three are kind of our honorable mentions for this list.
I would say I haven't beaten Midnight Suns. I think Kyle's the only one that beat it so far. So like I would say Gotham Knights over that, and I think at least 2 of us have also beaten Gotham Knights. Can speak
I
to
beat Gotham Knights. I
Yeah.
haven't beat Midnight Suns.
that? Yeah.
I would, I got to be honest. I think Gotham Knights probably does have the better. God, that's really hard to say.
I know,
better
right?
story, but not better, right?
But is it an
I don't know.
obvious
I know what
one
you
or
mean.
the
I
other?
know what you mean.
Here's what
Yeah.
I'm saying, Kyle, because it sounds like you're at the very least you're split on which one you like more,
Yeah.
and so maybe Gotham Knights gets the edge just because.
DC or Marvel, guys, pick a side.
Sounds like we're picking DC.
That's the one that Spawn is from. What is Spawn from?
The only list that would ever pick DC over Marvel.
Nobody better say Dark Horse
That's what it-
Comics. You better
That's
get
what it
out of here
sounds
with
like
that.
to me. It sounds like that to me right there. That's what.
Yep.
That's the vibe
Alright.
I'm getting.
That sounds
Yeah.
good.
I think Gotham Knight is.
I'm good with that.
I'm telling
Did
you.
everybody beat Gotham Knights?
That hook?
I haven't played
No,
either.
I think it's just
I mean,
it's just us three. Me, you,
Yeah.
and Jeff.
Yeah.
I'm-
yeah.
I
I'm
didn't know
playing
if
it-
Daniel had played it.
I'm playing it right now, and I'm a
So
decent
I
way
think
into it.
Daniel, did you
think-
play it? Dan,
No.
did you play the? No. But did you play the Arkham games?
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's not like that, so I don't know why I brought that up, but like.
But it's enough.
But-
It's enough.
some
But there's
similar.
enough.
Yeah.
There's enough there
Similarities,
that
yeah.
if you like
Yeah.
that game, like you'll probably like.
Well,
I've
and I will
done
say
probably
I'll
like 5
agree with-
patrol nights or whatever. Like, so I'm a good.
I'll
champion.
agree with Kyle, one of you two said it. That Gotham Knights has more of like a well-rounded, complete story, whereas Midnight Suns' story where it thrives is in all the character interplay
Yeah.
in dialogue.
It's the side stuff. Yeah, it's all.
It's all the side
in
stuff
between.
is so good.
Yeah.
But the Gotham Knights overarching story.
Probably why
More
not
complete.
only is it because it's action too, and once I saw how long Marvel
Suns.
Midnight Suns was, I was like, no, I
I
already
beat it
have
in half
enough.
that time. Just FYI, I beat it in 30 hours. So
See, and Kyle
Okay.
and I are very similar.
Not too
Like
bad.
for games like that, I'm like, dude, put it on easy.
yeah.
Let me just get through and enjoy the game. I'm not here to like.
Dude,
beat
I'm a
myself up
superhero.
and-
I'm not trying to get beat up by like people from
Yeah.
the hand.
Yeah, I
It's
don't want to
kinda like
reset the
like,
battle.
me,
'cause
Like
For me,
I
it's
want to
kinda
make
like
sure when I
Kratos,
punch
right?
someone, they
Like-
die immediately.
Yeah.
I
For
do
me,
like that
it's-
they have
it's-
enemies that are one-hit kills. They have a lot of those. I do like that.
I do. It feels
For,
good.
for me,
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
it's
there's a
very,
lot of
it's
them
a
like
very
that.
similar argument for why I put God of War on easy. I'm freaking Kratos. What am I
You're the
doing
God of
struggling?
War. Nobody should be giving me problems. Yeah, I feel that big time. Yeah.
Even as a retired God of War, this is ridiculous. How many
Yeah,
hits it takes
I
me.
know
to
he's
kill
older,
someone.
but come
As
on.
a retired god.
You're throwing godlike blades at somebody. They better die. You
I
know?
do
They
think
better-
I do think we've landed on a top 10. Does anyone
Yep.
else have a
Yep.
final
That's good.
argument to
Looks-
make? Okay.
Looks good to me.
That's
So
good.
we've got.
I don't know. Babylon's Fall should have been on here.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a mistake. We got to scrap everything and
We,
start
we,
over.
we have
You know
to.
what?
Guys.
Can we
have
start
to-
over again?
I'm
Yeah.
just gonna delete that completely from
We have
even
to.
the eligible.
Oh man, yeah. Square Enix did too.
They,
Square Enix
yeah,
did
you're
too.
the second person
Yeah.
this year to do
I
that.
just
so-
deleted it from the eligible games list. All right, our top 10 starting at number 10 is Gotham Knights. Number 9 is Pentiment. Number 8, As Dusk Falls. Number 7, The Quarry. Number 6, Neon White. Number 5, The Diofield Chronicle. Number 4, Horizon Forbidden West. Number 3, A Plague Tale Requiem. 2 is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. And number 1, the story of the year, is God of War Ragnarok.
Well deserved.
Play Xenoblade
real
Chronicles 3 if you haven't
Boy.
figured it out.
It's
Boy.
not.
I will play after I do 1 and 2.
No,
I
just
hate
play
No,
three.
just play
I
3.
have
3
that
has
right now.
nothing to do with 1 and 2.
I don't believe you. I don't
It's
believe
Alright,
much
guys, we're
like,
gonna-
It's actually, this is a weird comparison. It's much like the Yellowstone series and all their spin-offs. You don't have to watch Yellowstone at all. You can just go watch 1923. It doesn't
Now
matter.
it makes sense. Now it makes sense.
Yeah.
It all
We're
makes
going to
sense.
wrap things up with just, and then we have to make this rapid fire because we are over 3 hours. I knew these would be long episodes. That's fine. But rapid fire, favorite movies of the year. Let's keep it, let's go with top 3. Can we do that?
Okay.
If you've got favorite movies, and if you don't, you could just mention a couple that you're like, I really like this. It doesn't matter if it's ranked. That's fine. We can just be, here's 3 movies that
I've got a list.
I've got it.
God damn it.
Let me tell you.
so-
Actually,
Go ahead, Dan.
I was gonna say because my wife is about to finish making breakfast for us. Or I guess it would be brunch, right? Because it's like
Yeah.
you-
You want to go first so you can duck?
Yeah, and I can't really think it was a God of War. I think like not God of War. I'm sorry. Thor, Love and Thunder, God of War.
Or 11th?
I watched that. I haven't watched that many movies this year. Did Matrix come out this year? Was that this
That
year?
was the
No,
end
that
of
was
last
last
year.
I'm counting it. No,
Can
let's
I
count
just-
it again.
Can I just say
Let's count it again.
Matrix anyways? Matrix Revolutions, all right?
Resurrections. How dare you.
Resurrections.
Yeah, you
Resurrections.
got it wrong.
Hashtag
You-
fake
I don't
fan.
care how much he got wrong there. I'm on Team Dan. On
You
that.
know what? Matrix Reloaded as well. All right, original Matrix, all of them.
All the Matrixes.
He's winning. He's winning me me over. He wins.
Walked in the room
All right.
and I said,
Well,
"Wow,
Dan,
look at
go
Matrix."
enjoy your brunch lunch situation you have going on over there.
I
Thanks,
like
buddy.
how he shows up late and then leaves.
Shows up
early.
late,
Like,
leaves early.
Get
Yeah.
out of here!
Do
You're
you want me to keep
committed.
making your thumbnails or not, you schmuck?
There you go. Yeah, that's a good one to hang over.
It's actually some good leverage.
Yeah, I don't want to do those. So
Which
thank
chef
you for
ate
doing
your
those. Keep doing those.
Which
Go
thing
we
eat-
appreciate you.
Go eat
You
your
come
brunch.
and go as you please.
I've
sir.
got a quick top 5 for me. Number 5 is the Banshees of
I guess.
Inisherin, which we've talked about before. So Banshees is number 5 for me. Number 4 is Prey, which I thought was a really fun take on Predator. It's one of my kind of surprise favorite flicks this year. Number 3 was Nope, the new
Yes.
Jordan Peele flick. That was an excellent movie. Number 2 was Bullet Train. Listen, it's not going to win any awards, but I've watched it 3 times now, and I friggin' love it. It's on
Oh,
Netflix.
such a good movie.
I
It's
think it's
so
wonderful.
It's so fun, and I know it's like whatever. It's just so fun. And then number 1 is not even close. It's Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's the best movie I've seen this year. So.
Hey, I just bought that and started it last night. I haven't
Oh,
beat
man,
it or
it's a
beat it.
trip.
I haven't finished it.
You haven't rolled credits on
You
it.
haven't
as they
beat
say.
it.
So those are my favorite 5. Kyle, what about you? You said you got a list. What do you got?
Yeah. My number 5 is The Glass Onion. My number 4 is Nope. My number 3 is The Batman. My number 2 is The Northman. And my number 1 is Everything Everywhere All at Once because
Nice.
it is the reason I go see movies is movies like that.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I have Batman and Northman also in my top 10. Excellent movies.
So good.
Jeff, what about you? What are your faves of this year?
I'll have Derek go.
All right, Derek.
No, you have to go before me because I'm still going
still
through
looking.
everything real quick.
I'm crossing movies off of my list that you guys have already mentioned, so that's why.
Why? You don't want to
Why?
agree with
What
us?
are you doing?
I'm
Well,
trying to highlight
okay,
other movies that nobody else.
Let's
has
just
talked
get it out of the
about.
way. My
Yeah.
number 1 is The Woman King.
I knew it.
For
Oh,
for
dang.
obvious reasons.
Sure,
No.
yeah.
Movie's actually very good, but
Actually,
It's got
my
amazing
favorite
reviews,
would probably be The Batman. That would be my number 1.
By the way, is Woman King
Um,
streaming anywhere? Because the reviews are amazing. I want to see
I
it.
don't.
I do
don't
want to
know.
see it too. I never
Okay,
got around
go ahead,
to it.
Derek.
I
You
don't
said
even
the
remember
Batman.
who did it, honestly.
Can you get it legally?
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
totally legally,
Okay,
you can
I'm
do
gonna
it.
double back and do that. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm remembering everything, but just real quick, I'll just do top 3. Batman's number 1. I'm gonna go Top Gun, Maverick, and then
Nice.
Glass Onion. I'm sure I'm forgetting something I saw that
Those
I
are
love,
great.
but
Top Gun
Those
was
are-
awesome, dude.
Yep.
And I wanted to
I
hate
just
that movie.
I just watched
have,
Top Gun this week. It's
I
great.
have like no nostalgia for that franchise like at all.
no, neither do I.
And
Truly excellent movie. I'm watching
yeah,
it.
I
I
thought
really
it was
enjoyed
excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, I
All right,
loved it.
Jeff, wrap us up.
I wanted to. Okay, so you guys, my favorite movie, I'm just gonna say, is Everything Everywhere All at Once. There's no denying that movie's power. It's incredible, and I hope it wins Best Picture. And because I want a Best Picture winner to have a lot of ass play in it. And that
it
movie
does
does
have
have that. Yeah.
It's got so much ass play.
A lot of hot dog fingers. Hot dog fingers.
Yeah, and wiener fingers. Yeah.
So aside from that, I wanted to mention. I'll just mention 3. Weird, the Al Yankovic story. Please go watch that movie.
So
it's
good.
So fucking funny. It's
My
as
favorite
good
comedy
as,
of the year.
Yeah, for real. Me too. Actually, I take that back. It's not my favorite. But it is my second favorite comedy. It's very funny, and it's up there with Walk Hard in terms of very self-aware music biopics that just the jokes are just nonstop and so funny, dude. So highly recommend that one. All Quiet on the Western Front, probably one of the best war movies I've seen since 1917. That's on Netflix. Just the opening alone is like enough to like suck you in, because
We're not
it's-
doing sexual jokes.
It's got this sequence.
You're
that's
new
like-
us guys. Come on.
it's basically showing what's called the meat grinder of the war machine, where it shows like a person enrolling and then going into battle and then dying and then their outfit being used and recycled for another soldier. Like it's a brutal like look at war for the first 5 minutes.
I did watch that one too, Jeff. It took me a while to get through it because I had to focus on it to read the subtitles. It's not a movie you can kind of have on in the background, but it is
Right.
it is very well done. Very good.
There's a lot of scenes too that really stuck with me, like the scene with him on the cliffside or whatever in the ditch, and he's next to a soldier that he just stabbed and basically gave him like a killing blow, but the soldier's choking on his blood and just sitting there and like dying miserably, and there's nothing the main character can do except sit there and watch him die. He even at one point feels guilty and is like tries to help him a little bit, and there's nothing he can do.
I'll tell you what, it is the first time I've seen a movie from the German perspective of any of these wars that was like compelling and I cared about the characters, because they're usually so vilified, and it was just really well done.
Right.
And then I thought the
Sorry.
end credits. There's like a thing at the end too where it tells you the death toll of that side of the war in World War One, and it really hits home how freaking pointless that war was.
Well, yeah, these were like German teenage boys. They weren't like evil people. They were German teenage boys who thought they were going to win and already pretty much won war. They were pumped to go out there and just be part of the victory celebration, and they didn't know what they were getting into. And it's very eye-opening. It was good.
Were you going to say something, Derek?
Oh, I knew I forgot a movie, and Tim literally said it, and I forgot. I just wanted to add Bullet Train to my list. That one's probably my number, number 2. I'd put 2.
So good. The last one I want to mention is Babylon. This is my favorite comedy of the year. This movie is just nonstop laughs at certain points. I was in a theater. This movie bombed. This has Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt in it, and considering
it's a movie with Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt bomb.
I don't get it either. But she had another movie bomb this year too, so I guess she's not immune to it, despite being one of the most attractive women on the planet. But this movie's like pretty much the Singing in the Rain premise, where it's and it's very deliberately paying homage to that movie. It's the Singing in the Rain premise where silent movies are kind of falling away from the public, whatever, and movies with sound are taking over. And the Brad Pitt is a silent movie star. Margot Robbie just came in at the tail end. Her character just came in at the tail end of silent movies kind of dying. So she like hits success really quickly for like 3 movies. And then she's got that kind of Singing in the Rain, New York accent that's like insufferable to people. Like, oh, how's it go? She's basically Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn's voice
in this movie. Because she's so like erratic and like just freaking a cokehead. She's everywhere, and this is basically Wolf of Wall Street plus Hollywood.
Plus, she's in that too.
So funny. Yeah. And yeah, exactly. And in the first 5 minutes alone, you get so many visuals of bodily fluids that you don't expect. It's very, very raunchy. And there's a whole scene where like Margot Robbie's character is like trying to film her first talkie, but there's so many elements that are not working right. Like they have to turn off the AC, so it's really hot. And the camera has to be in its own booth that has no ventilation at all. So the cameraman, every 5 seconds or so, will pop out and be like, "It's really hot in here." And the producer will shut the door, "Get back in there." It's so funny. And like, it's basically like a farce, if you will. Like it feels like a theater moment where everybody's kind of like jumping out and complaining about something that happens. Like the audio guy is like, "The mic's too loud. She's not hitting a mark." And they're constantly having to do like take 1, take 2, take 2. And they're constantly going through it. And like at one point, a producer breaks and he's like, "If you interrupt me again, I will shit on you. I will take a shit." He gets so mad, and everybody in the theater is just dying laughing. And it wasn't a full house, but all of us were like totally there for what the movie was selling us. And people even clapped at the end. I'm not a clapper. I'm not a moron. Sorry, clap at movies.
Weird.
But people
I clap at the end of
and
games.
I
Is
was
that
like,
weird?
wow.
Like I put the controller down, I clap at the end of a game. Is that?
That was me during God of War.
I was not going to admit it, but now that it feels safe,
good.
I do that too.
But it's a really good. I mean, to me, it's a really good movie. But everybody's super mixed on it, so I had to at least bring it up, especially because it just came out during Christmas time.
Yeah, a lot of good flicks this year for sure as well.
Yeah, it's a great year, honestly. Every movie you guys mentioned, I'm like, yeah, that's freaking great. That's great too. That's great. Like, yeah, it's a good year.
All right, guys. Well, next week, some different challenges are in front of us. We have best visuals, best performances, and best combat to try to rank together. And then we'll also bring in our personal picks for most addicting game. And if you have any favorite shows from the year, we'll list those as well. So,
TV. What a boring year for TV, too.
Yeah, the worst year of TV ever, right,
nothing
guys?
Nothing good at all. So that does it for us this week. I know these are long episodes, but hey, that's what makes them fun, is we get to chat a lot. And
yeah, we do it
games.
once a year, guys. It's once a year.
I really like celebrating all the good stuff from the year. That's pretty much
that's how I look at it. It's a celebration.
So the best. These are my favorite episodes. Like
same here.
Totally agree. So we're part 1 behind us. Moving on to part 2 next week. But thank you guys for listening and watching. Smash that like and subscribe. No, I'm not going to do that. All right. We'll see you guys next time. See ya.